A couple times when I tried to connect to YouTube streams when I was experimenting with that on my main channel, I'd set up a waiting room, and then when I'd actually go live, I'd end up just making a new one.
Oh, really? Oh, really? Okay, perfect. There we go. It's live. Hello, everybody.
All right. Yes.
Hello, chat. Welcome to a new podcast we're going to do once a month. I'm here with my buddy, CptTankerJoe. And once a month we're going to be doing this podcast. It's at the moment we're going to call it the Two Men Ramble podcast until we decide. I don't know if we decide if we can think up of a better name. And
I mean, it'll just really be whatever we decide to do.
Yeah, whatever we decide to do, right? But yeah, so today we're going to be looking at the 23XI Racing and Front Motorsports versus NASCAR lawsuit. So I think before we get into the discussion around this, let's first, I guess, explain what NASCAR is and what this lawsuit is about. So if I were to describe NASCAR, it's basically a sport where a bunch of like really fat Americans like turn left a lot, and
most of the time.
Most of the time they turn left. Sometimes they drive trucks instead of cars as well, and they call they used to call each other slurs, but that was deemed not sportsmanlike. So instead of calling each other slurs now, what they decide to do instead is they do this thing where they basically they attempt to cause vehicular manslaughter by running the other guy off the track and into the barriers at about 200 miles an hour. It's really good fun. I like it when they crash in NASCAR.
At 200 miles an hour, track dependent.
Yeah, track dependent, yeah. So basically, there's been a bit of a hoo-ha in NASCAR recently because I believe 23XI Racing, is it owned by Michael Jordan, Joe? Is that right?
All right. So 23XI is actually called 2311 Racing. The XI is the Roman numeral for 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's co-owned by Denny Hamlin, the driver of the Joe Gibbs Racing 11 car, and Michael Jordan. They own it together.
Interesting.
And it's actually kind of funny how this started out. So it started out with a rumor that Michael Jordan was buying out Richard Petty Enterprises, and after that fake news story broke, and quite literally it was fake because Michael Jordan had no interest in NASCAR at the time, he noticed Denny Hamlin at one of at some sort of basketball game. I forget exactly what it was, but Michael Jordan ordered his security basically to abduct Denny Hamlin to bring him to Michael Jordan.
Abduct him?
So Michael Jordan could meet Denny Hamlin.
Wow.
Well,
really?
Literally, according to the story, it's Michael Jordan noticed Denny Hamlin and told his security, "Hey, I wanted to see that guy. Bring him to me."
just fucking yoink him, yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Oh my! Who the hell does Michael Jordan think he is? He can just. That's incredible! Wow. Remind me not to get involved in business with Michael Jordan.
I mean, he's like one of the most successful basketball players in existence.
I do love.
I don't follow basketball too much. I follow NASCAR. That's why we're talking about this.
Yeah. I grew up watching Michael Jordan play basketball in Space Jam. I think that's where a lot of millennials learned about him from, and I mean, I'm quite a big fan of actually American basketball because of this guy. But he's not my favorite basketball player. I've always been more partial to Charles Barkley. But anyway, to get, I guess, back on topic. So basically, what this lawsuit is about is there are concerns that NASCAR has almost like a monopoly on the sport of stock car racing, and sorry, go on.
The concern that the teams have, and even the teams. So what led up to this was NASCAR in 2014 to 2016ish. They implemented the charter system, so you could basically like own a right to a car. All right, and and you could have up to 4 cars to a single team and all that, and it guaranteed you a spot at every single race that NASCAR held. But the concern now is because NASCAR is wanting to retain complete ownership of the charters while basically only loaning them out to the teams, and they're wanting to basically like have total control over every aspect of the sport, whether it's the teams, the tracks, the sanctioning body, everything. So the concern for the teams is, hey, NASCAR is basically bullying us around. None of our teams have made a profit in almost 10 years since this system was introduced.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yep.
this is fair. And it's not so much that their disagreement is with the charter system as much as it is the business practices of NASCAR.
Yeah. So we've got an article here from Autosport who have kind of bullet pointed some of the main points from motorsport who are doing the suing of NASCAR. So they kind of outline their problems with NASCAR being that the leadership are engaging in anti-competitive practices because they buy up a majority of the premier racetracks that are exclusive to NASCAR only. They impose exclusivity deals on NASCAR sanctioned racetracks. They are acquiring Automobile Racing Club of America, which is the only notable stock car racing competitor. They're preventing teams from participating in any other stock car races, while also retaining ownership over the next generation of parts and cars. And finally, that they're forcing teams to buy their parts from single source suppliers chosen by NASCAR. So that's
Yeah,
essentially the complaints.
so with the implementation of the next gen car, beforehand, so we're on the 7th generation of stock car for NASCAR. The previous generation was naturally the Gen 6, where teams could basically go to people that they thought would be the best part supplier for their team.
Mm-hmm.
But with the implementation of the next gen car, all the teams had to buy it from NASCAR approved suppliers. So they're like, all right, well, no, we're gonna force everyone to buy from person A, B, and C exclusively. You can only get parts from that. And if you don't,
Yeah.
you are going to be extremely penalized.
Yeah, so I guess to put that into, if there are any Europeans watching who don't quite understand like how NASCAR works, and you're more familiar with something like Formula One, that would be like that would be the almost the equivalent of saying something like, um, you can only buy your Formula One cars and parts from like a single works manufacturer like Mercedes or something. So yeah, it's not. It can lead to problems when you've only got essentially one producer of the parts and cars, right? That
Mm.
that can cause
And
issues.
the big reason why this lawsuit happened this year is because this year is the current end to the current charter system, and all the teams had to sign a new contract or like a contract extension that would have extended to 2031. Um, and all of the teams except for two signed the deal, and the two that didn't naturally was 2311
Hmm.
and Front Row Motorsports.
Yeah.
Now the reason why they pulled the trigger right away is because the new deal has a clause in it that basically waives the rights of teams to sue NASCAR on monopoly antitrust grounds,
Yeah. So
which if you think about it is like, well, you're claiming not to be a monopoly while also
yeah.
telling people you can't sue them for being a monopoly.
yeah. Yeah.
Like
So
that's kind of a self-report right there. If
it's quite yeah.
my
So
opinion is going to be taken with a grain of salt.
yeah. So how familiar are you with, I guess, like the greater US law around this kind of thing? I know
Um,
that normally governments intervene to break up monopolies, but I don't know if in the United States there is a precedent for breaking for government intervention in this kind of thing, or are they just allowed
so
to?
it's one the last person we really had that would like go out of his way to break up monopolies was Teddy Roosevelt.
Hmm.
Other than that, like you pretty much have to go through the court systems to prove that hey, this business is a monopoly or such and such, and then the government will intervene. So basically, it's a we're not going to worry about it till it's brought to our attention type deal.
But I imagine, like any good government, given how big and rich NASCAR is, they probably just buy off a couple centers, right, to quash the whole thing. I don't know. Has there been
So
any big political commentary over this?
so in actually there has been some NASCAR precedent set for this, but that goes all the way back to the 60s.
Hmm.
So in 1969, Talladega Superspeedway was built.
Yep.
And the very first race was meant to be held literally only a couple weeks after it was finished.
Yep.
And the drivers came in, they're like, all right, this track would be really cool if it wasn't completely rushed to oblivion. And we don't want to race on it because we're all going to die. At least that's the gist of it.
Fair
And
enough,
during this time, a lot of drivers in NASCAR were basically trying to join a union without calling it a union. It was called the Professional Drivers Association, or PDA.
Right.
And Bill France Sr. was adamant that absolutely no union drivers would be allowed to race at his tracks. At one point, he brought a pistol to a track and going, all right, if any PDA drivers show up, you're going to get it.
That's the most American thing I've ever heard. That's actually like disturbing and psychotic, but at the same time, that just makes me want to go, hell yeah. Call me
so so then the Talladega race happens. Well, actually, it happened, but it didn't happen, because what ended up happening was all of the PDA drivers ended up walking out of the event.
Oh,
which
really?
reduced the professional field from, I think, like 40 something odd cars down to 3 competitive cars. So Bill France Sr. is like, all right, well, I need my money back. So he yanked cars from the previous day series to run the Cup Series day.
Right.
And at this time, Camaros, Mustangs, and like Chevelles and all that are considered pony cars. So they're not like the big super speedway racings like the Dodge Charger Daytona and all those types of cars.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Bill France is like, yep, screw the rules, just let them all race because we need cars on the field for entertainment. And it was one of those things where the precedent was, no, NASCAR will come down on an iron fist on anything they do not like.
Yeah, which I mean, absolutely, you would if you're in a dominant business, if you're in a dominant financial situation. Yeah, you're gonna want to, obviously you're not gonna want to let go of that power, and you'll do anything that obviously you need to do to remain as the biggest cheese. Yeah. So
no one. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so it says here in the article that in the coming days, Jordan's team will file a preliminary injunction to enable our teams to race in the next calendar year under the 2025 charter agreement, whilst continuing to pursue our antitrust litigation. So
the reason they're doing that is because if so there's a second part to this, but the first part is the charter grants the team a spot on the track. So if you do not have a charter, you do not have a guaranteed spot on the track, and you have to somehow earn your way to race that day.
Yep.
You don't get any revenue money, you don't get anything. NASCAR basically like shuts you off from their support system. You can still race as open teams, but that costs tens and tens of millions of dollars to do. And the other part, the second part of this is, even though NASCAR has said that 2311 and Front Row Motorsports can race as open teams, they still have to sign a contract to race as an open team. Guess what's in that contract?
What would be in the contract?
You cannot sue NASCAR on antitrust or monopoly grounds.
Yeah, so it's basically pointless. Yeah,
exactly, and that's what they recently brought up. They're like, look, NASCAR said we can race as open teams, but we still have to agree to their open team contract, which prevents us from doing this anyway, so we can't race.
Yeah, so
which
basically
is their whole business.
Which is the whole business, actually. So the contract is like, you can race as an open team, you won't get any support, it'll be more expensive for you, and if you actually want to race anyway, you basically have to give away your right to protest in the first place. So there's literally no point to it. There's no benefit to it in the end.
Yeah. So the beautiful thing about this right now is 2311 is actually racing for a championship. They have a car that is now in the final four, so they are going to Phoenix to race to get the Cup title.
Right.
Which would be a huge blow to, well, not necessarily a huge blow to NASCAR in any like legal sense, but in just like I guess a morale perspective. Like, yeah, the guys who are suing us just won the championship.
Yeah, it weakens their power, weakens their influence, and it opens them up to being challenged by other rival organizations. So they don't want to lose that market share. Yeah, they don't want
Well,
to
you
appear
see,
weak.
all of the other teams have already signed the agreement,
Hmm.
but the other problem with the team signing the agreement, and I know Richard Childress, who is the owner of RCR, he got interviewed. I forget where it was. I think it was I forget where it was, but he's like, no, I have 300 employees at on this team, you know, and when NASCAR came to me, he was like, all right, you have 4 hours to sign this. Um, no, he signed it, but he's like, it felt like I was rushed. I wasn't getting enough
Yeah,
time to actually look over the document, all sorts of that, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm again, no, none of this is legal advice, but I'm like that I'm not sure if that can be considered signing a contract under duress because you're
yeah.
not given the proper amount of time to review it and see what's actually in the document.
He'd make a good manager for
You're
Face
basically
Connect.
I mean it's basically it was basically a hey sign this now or we take away your cars.
Yeah, 4 hours. That's a ridiculously short amount of time. You
Cuz
don't have the time to read a contract in 4 hours and make a proper informed decision.
so I'm not exactly sure how big the contract was, but I was told or I remember hearing it was over 500 pages.
500 pages
I
in 4
I
hours.
could
Fucking
I
hell.
could be wrong. I
Yeah.
could be wrong. So take this with a grain of salt. I could
Hmm.
be wrong about that. But basically, so and goes back to the Daytona night race in August.
Yeah.
And no, that race goes all the way till like um almost midnight. And right after the race concluded, uh NASCAR went to all the teams and went, all right, you have until dawn to sign this, and that was only like 6 hours. And mind you, they're trying to pack up.
Ruthless. Yeah.
They're trying to get everything ready to go back home so they can prepare for the next week. And they're like, all right, you have until daybreak to sign this. And you're like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah,
I don't have
exactly.
time to read it. I don't have time to review it. No, you're basically saying, hey, you see those cars you're loading up on your hauler? Yeah, we're gonna take those if you don't put a signature on this paper right now.
Yeah, I take it that's perfectly legal under US law then for them to do it.
Well, is the at least the only problem I would see with them doing that is that could that could possibly be considered signing a contract under
Under
duress,
duress, right? Yeah.
which would void it. At least that's what I believe that's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it? Because it's like, particularly if you've got such a big document, you could argue within a reasonable doubt that it would be absolutely impossible for anyone, even a seasoned lawyer, to properly
Review it.
properly like review it, extrapolate the information from that. So you could argue that
And
yeah,
it's
you can abide by the contract because you don't know what's in it.
and it was like what was it? Sayu when she got the contract from her previous company and
Hmm.
and they're like, "Yep, you have 3 hours to sign this
Yeah,
or else."
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's like, that's it's not cool.
Yeah, not cool. It's not very. It's very suspect when you do that kind of thing. It's like,
Yeah, it is.
what are you hiding? Why do I need to sign it right now? What is in this
Yep.
contract that you don't want me to see? Right?
Yep. I know 2311 and Front Row Motorsports also put in a I forget what it was called, but it was like an expedited like document request. So what they were trying to do is get NASCAR to open up their all their checkbooks and bank accounts so the world could see how they're actually spending and acquiring and sharing the money.
Hmm.
But that got denied because the teams probably said something along the lines of, "Oh, well, we already have these documents." So the courts were like, "Well, if you already have them, then why are you requesting them?"
Yeah, that doesn't make sense, right? Why do you need something that you
Yeah.
apparently already have? Yeah.
So I think that's a mistake on the team's part. Um, so I think that was a mistake on the two teams' part. But It does sound like the injunction to race as charter teams for next year does have some standing.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know of many leagues in stock car racing in the US. Like it's almost like stock car racing is kind of one of those things with like the I think it's Hoover. You know, it's like the Hoover's not actually the name of a vacuum cleaner, right? Hoover's the name of the brand. When I think stock car racing, I think NASCAR. It's all NASCAR to me. So
I mean,
um
really, I mean, there you have all. I mean, they're not really. I guess you can't really consider them stock cars, but they're under the stock car umbrella. But NASCAR's argument is you have things like you have late model series, you have the Cars Tour, you have all
mhm,
these other lower series, but they're all, even though the Cars Tour is all over the nation, it's not a national series.
right. Yeah.
Like NASCAR has one series for the whole nation, while the Cars Tour, sure, it has races all across the country. It's its series, it's like individual series are a lot more regional and localized.
Right, that makes sense. So I guess we can understand where the business, where the teams, where the businesses themselves are coming from. What did the actual drivers think about this whole situation?
I know a lot of drivers aren't. They're the only worry that a lot of drivers have is they're like, well, now how is this going to affect my chance at being a driver in the future? But I mean, most of them don't have any sort of say in this because most of them aren't even car owners. They're just the driver. They get paid to drive around the track, which is why Denny Hamlin is the exception because he co-owns a whole team.
Hmm.
So he has a lot of money in this. He has a lot of stake in this more than most of the other drivers do.
Yeah,
The only other drivers who are really concerned about this are those who are driving for Front Row Motorsports and 2311 because they're like, well, if we lose this court case, then we lose everything.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I imagine for drivers, for the most part, they just want to know if they've got a seat to race in and that they're going to get paid, right? I guess they don't really care
Yeah, that's
who
that's
owns.
pretty much it.
Yeah, that would make sense, I guess. So, yeah, I guess since then, there's been an update yesterday, wasn't there? So
Yeah.
I haven't had much chance to go through this just yet, but apparently, we an update on this from yesterday. A U.S. District Judge Frank D. Whitney has denied 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports' motion for expedited discovery amidst their antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR. So that's an interesting one. Um,
Yeah, that was the request to basically get NASCAR to open up their bank accounts.
yeah,
So what because I know I watched so there's a YouTube couple of YouTube channels I watched. There's the Iceberg who does kind of more NASCAR historical videos, but he does comment a lot on modern things happening. But Eric Estep, he is like the NASCAR news guy. He does videos Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, sometimes Thursday, and he has a lot of good videos. He does a lot of good work, and so I highly recommend if anyone's actually interested in following this, go check out Eric Estep out of the groove on YouTube. But what happened with this the preliminary or not the what the fuck is it the expedited discovery?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
What happened there is at some point the team said, "Hey, we have all the documentation we needed for our case, but they're still trying to request something for from NASCAR." So the courts is like, "Well, we're sure that um granting this would help the the teams. They have already claimed to have the things they need, so we don't so no that if they have what they need, why do they need more?"
Right, I see. That makes sense. So it looks like, yeah, so the legal strategy for 2311 Motorsport is they were hoping to get access to documents which covered an 8-year period from NASCAR's executive team. So the decision, the reason why the judge apparently denied the motion was that they weren't sufficiently narrowly tailored as proposed. and would pose an undue burden on NASCAR by demanding a significant volume of data in an unreasonably
Mm.
short time frame. So I guess essentially what he's saying there is that the information request from Jordan's side is it was too general, too much information that could potentially be damaging to NASCAR's business, and it wouldn't give them reasonably enough time to get all that information together and to consider it properly.
Yeah, so another thing I think that if the teams wanted to have a higher chance at having that request succeed is they needed to be more specific with what documents they were requesting.
Hmm. Yep, which is fair enough,
Because
I
if
guess.
you just go, "Hey, well, I want to see all your bank accounts," then NASA's going to go, "Oh, you want to look into Jim France's bank account? How dare you?"
Yeah, and I imagine there's stuff in there
He,
they don't want to. They don't want anyone to see either.
yeah, well, I think what they would go is they're like, "Oh, well, you're trying to request like personal information from employees of NASCAR, and that's no, we can't grant
Yeah,
that."
we can't
So what
do
I
that.
think
Yeah.
they needed to do is request. They're like, "Hey, we want to see what the no what the tracks are earning in dollar amount, what NASCAR's earning in dollar amount versus what they're giving the teams in dollar amount type deal." I think if they had narrowed it down to there, they might have had a better chance at success. But again, but no, not legal advice. We need to put one of those legal mindset, not legal advice things scrolling along the bottom.
Yeah. So it looks like that the injunction hearing is scheduled in 2 days' time, which will obviously determine
Monday.
the Monday. Yeah. So it will determine whether Front Row Motorsports can retain their status as a chartered team throughout the litigation. And if they can, then that's obviously going to be quite a concern for them and for the sport as a whole, I guess. I imagine
So,
they've got quite a few drivers under the roster who fans are quite fond of.
actually, so 2311 has one of the not the favorite because the favorite is going to be Chase Elliott till he retires,
Mm.
but 2311 has two drivers signed right now. They have Tyler Reddick, who's my brother's favorite driver,
Yep.
and Bubba Wallace, who's one of the most hated drivers right now.
Bubba, yeah, hell yeah.
And so, but the thing about Tyler Reddick is he is going to be in the championship for this year. So he's going to be at Phoenix racing for to win the championship this year, which honestly would be kind of funny to see. But 2311, I mean the whole thing with this is they're a brand new team, right? I
Yep.
mean they've only been around for a couple years. I think they started in 2020 or 2021 and oh, there he is. All right, so where the fuck was I going with that? All right, so they're a brand new team. They've only been around for a couple years. While you have teams like Hendrick Motorsports, Team Penske, and all that have been around the sport for almost 40, 50 years. Richard
Yeah, I know
Childress
Hendrick.
Racing has been around since the
Yeah.
80s,
Hmm.
and so it's one of those things where like, all right, well, some of the teams believe like, oh, well, you're a brand new team, you don't have the grit and struggle that we have. But the teams are like, well, nobody here is making money, so what's kind of the point here?
Yeah, what's the point? Exactly.
Something's got to give at some point because sure, during the golden era of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, this could be sustained, but we're compared to 2002, we're completely irrelevant now. No, this isn't sustainable.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and my immediate thought is, it's very ballsy of 2311 to do this, but it's almost like I would say before they challenge the beast as they've done, they should have really perhaps done more to build up, I guess, that sort of, um, I guess, that sort of like clout in the industry, kind of build up like that PR, maybe get a few more drivers on the team, very popular drivers who are loved by the, I guess, the greater motorsport community. Because then at that
Well,
point, you can obviously leverage that influence you have to almost turn that against NASCAR, make them look like the villains in the story. But I think when you've got a team like 2311, they're a relatively new team. They don't have that many drivers who fans really care about, then obviously fans, generally speaking, aren't perhaps going to care too much about what's going on.
Well, you see, the thing the interesting thing about 2311 is their one of their owners is a guy who's been racing for 20 years.
Hmm.
So, because Denny Hamlin has been racing, I believe he debuted in the Cup Series in 2006.
Oh wow, yeah, quite a while, 18 years.
So yeah, he's been racing for almost 20 years.
Hmm.
And Michael Jordan has been around the sport for probably about the last 10 years. So I mean he's not completely new to this.
Yeah.
And 2311 is basically a subsidiary of Joe Gibbs Racing, which is a team that has been around for quite a while as well. Because I know one of the things always said is, oh well, 2311 is just JGR cars 5 and 6 because they can't have 5 and 6 under the JGR banner.
Right, I see. That makes sense. Yeah, I just love how the team names as well are generally just some guy's name. You don't really have like a fancy, you don't have like Ferrari. Well, I guess Ferrari's actually a family name. You know what I mean? You don't have names like you don't see many team names like 2311 Racing. It's just like, oh yeah, this is Bubba's team, this is Joe's team. You got Billy Bob's team,
Well,
right?
let's see. There's well here, let me try to list off the other teams that are not the big three. Let's see, you have Front Row Motorsports, you have Colleague Racing, Spire Motorsports, so you have Trackhouse,
Okay, there's quite a few
and
names then. Yeah.
yeah, there are quite a few. There used to be Live Fast Racing, but they were forced to sell their charters last year because they couldn't improve. So one of the things about the NASCAR charters is if you're the very very bottom of the field,
Yep.
you have to show improvement with your charter. Like you have to show improvement, or else NASCAR can just take your charter away
Oh, that's
and
interesting. Okay.
give it to another team who might be able to perform better and be more competitive.
So that's good. I think that's a fantastic rule. I think in Formula One, they've almost got the exact opposite thing going on, where the teams actually don't want new teams coming in, and there's like literally if there's a team at the very bottom who clearly is just almost coasting along, showing no improvement, and there's always last place. Everyone's just happy for that team to remain there to kind of keep the regular paid teams without not having to worry about any competition. So I think what NASCAR does here actually does lead to a much better racing and viewing experience for audiences.
Yeah, and the other thing about 2311 is, I mean, the Denny Hamlin said when he started this team, the 5-year plan is to be racing for championships.
Bold
And they
plan.
have a car in the championship for right now who has a chance to actually take the cup this year, 1 year early. So
So,
it's mission accomplished, and most teams never get that chance.
hmm,
I know there's been teams that have come and gone who at one point may have been powerhouses, but never were able to really solidify their gains. I know Stewart Haas Racing is shutting down at the end of the year. Excuse me. Stewart Haas Racing is shutting down at the end of the year. They have 4 cars. They won a championship with Kevin Harvick in 2014, and they've had a lineup of many talented drivers, but even they couldn't be saved given NASCAR's current state. I mean,
yeah,
they were a like the powerhouse team from 2011. Actually, no, they won 2 championships, one with Tony Stewart and one with Kevin Harvick. So they have 2 championships to their name, and that couldn't even save them.
God, yeah, 2 championships as well. So it's not like they're a bad team by any stretch of the imagination.
Nope, but
It's
given NASCAR's current state, they're shutting down
they're
at the end
shutting
of the
down.
year.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, it's the problem with motorsports as well. Even when obviously the series isn't having any issues, it's always like you're always in a situation where you've got the perfect drivers, but your pit crew or like the car itself isn't the best. Or even if
Mm-hmm.
you've got a perfect situation where the driver, the pit crew, the car itself is all as best as it possibly be, got best stuff, best drivers, and you can just get unlucky. You can just eat shit during a wreck. There can be just unforeseen circumstances, which leads to teams obviously going into decline. It's always sad when that happens.
So the problem with Stewart Haas Racing is So the reason why some teams can remain unaffected through all of this, like Hendricks or Penske or JGR's the asterisk here, but Hendrick, the team owner Rick Hendrick, he has his own multi-million-dollar business
Mm.
that he runs as well, which funds his NASCAR operation.
Yeah, it's very rare that a motorsports team is cash flow positive through the team itself. It's
And
always some rich guy, isn't it, who funds it through his
and
own
I know
business.
Team Penske, who is owned by Roger Penske, also owns Penske Truck Rental,
Yeah,
which is
so
one of the
yeah,
biggest truck rental things in the US, if not North America, because I see their trucks all the time.
yeah. I think one thing I'd say to people, guys, is that if you want to be a millionaire, that one of the best ways to be a millionaire is to be a billionaire who owns a motorsports team. Those cars aren't cheap when you wreck them, man. Jesus.
Oh no, they absolutely are not.
Hmm.
And it's one of and the thing is the asterisk with Joe Gibbs is he used to own an NFL team.
Oh wow. Okay. Is NFL profitable for like someone to own? Does that make you money?
I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Mm.
I'm not too invested in the NFL,
Yeah.
and there's only one college football game a year that I pay any attention to. My team could lose every single other game in their existence. As long as they win this one game, I'm happy. But so no, I've always been a NASCAR focused guy.
So who's so for 2311 Motorsports? Who's funding them? Obviously, Jordan himself has obviously got a stake in it. But is it just Jordan financing it himself, or are there other
It's
sponsors as well?
it so sponsors do help covers quite a bit of the cost.
Hmm.
But other than the sponsors and the technical help from JGR, I mean Michael Jordan is probably footing the bill for most of the stuff.
Yeah.
See, and Michael Jordan, he has the money to go to take this to a court case, but I don't think he has the money to run as an open team next year.
Yeah, I mean, looking at him already, and I'm just looking at this picture. Every picture I see with this lawsuit that involves Jordan is he always looks like he always looks like he's just seen a car crash himself. He's probably really stressed out at the moment. He probably doesn't want to have a too hands-on of approach of all this stuff, whilst he's also running his businesses and obviously
See,
just trying to live his life.
I think at least Michael for team owners, Michael Jordan's the guy who's more uh he's not technical focused. He's more like optics focused,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
Whereas Denny Hamlin would be more of the technical guy because he's still a driver himself. No, he's been around. He's only been with one team, and with him owning the cars, he knows what to do, what needs to be done, know what how know what X, Y, and Z will help or not help with. So I think Denny is the day to day operations, while Michael Jordan would be more like the yearly operations.
Yeah, it makes sense as well, right? I mean, Jordan has a history. He's a basketball guy. He moved over to baseball for a little bit, for reasons. He went to baseball for a little bit until he was allowed to play
Yeah,
basketball again. Jordan's like trip to baseball always makes me laugh. Like the euphemisms around that are particularly funny. But yeah, you wouldn't
hmm
expect Jordan to get hands on with the technical stuff. He's got guys for that. But having his
yeah.
name attached to the team is obviously, as you say, it's
Oh,
good
that
for PR and
definitely
optics
helps.
wise. It really helps, right? Yeah, because like myself as well, so I wouldn't give a shit that much of a shit about 2311 racing, but it's like, oh, Michael Jordan's team. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, yeah, let's see what's going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a question here. Isn't Kevin Harvick's championship the one that changed the whole point system and started the tournament? No. So what happened with NASCAR to end up going to the tournament style playoffs? So in 2003, Matt Kenseth Matt Kenseth driving the 17 car for Roush Racing won the championship, and he blew it away by a mile. I mean, he didn't even have to show up to the last race to win this championship. Like that's how many points he was ahead. So the following year in 2004, NASCAR would implement the chase for the cup. So the last 10 races would be like it's not it wasn't like a championship. It wasn't a like elimination style championship like we have today. It was a like 10 race like mini season. So the points would get reset for the top 10 drivers,
Right.
and then they would race it out the last 10 to determine a champion. And it really wasn't a bad system, but the problem with the chase format is they changed a little bit of it every year. They could never stick with anything for more than 2 years.
Yeah. Okay.
And eventually, as it got more and more and more gimmicky, they're just like, all right, screw it. We're just going to go to the elimination style point system that they implemented in 2014. And then in 2015, they implemented the win and you're in system, which was the same elimination style that 2014 had, but a win would guarantee you a spot, which is now kind of coming back to bite them in the butt because now you have 34th and 35th place cars pulling a win out their ass and now getting into the championship grid.
Yep.
Like as much I mean, I'm not a fan of Harrison Burton, but and the Wood brothers, but I mean he's running 34th all year, and a lookout win at Daytona got him into the championship hunt. Even though he was one of the first eliminated, it's still one of those things where it's like, all right, well, these people who are winning completely based off luck are now taking spots away from people who are consistent.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think as a viewer, that makes it more interesting. But I guess for the teams themselves, yeah, that doesn't sound fair. It's quite annoying. I take it.
See, the thing is so I didn't actually really grow up much with the Winston Cup format because when the Winston Cup format went away, I was 3.
Okay, yeah.
But I grew up with the chase format. Honestly, I really did not mind the chase format. I thought, all right, no, all right, you got your 10 most consistent drivers up front in the points. Let them race it out, the last 10 races for the championship. No, that made sense to me. I didn't really have an issue with it. I mean, sure, we could have kept
Yeah.
the Winston format, but it's just the current system is just a bit way too gimmicky.
Yeah, it does make sense, Again, I always kind of think about what NASCAR has done in the past to try and make racing, I guess, more interesting. And I always think to Formula One, which is I think is like a very corrupt and incompetently led organization. Like Formula One is run by the FIA, and um, I like the sound of like having the top 10 races actually just race for the championship, kind of on their own, kind of thing. Because the
Hmm.
problem you get with Formula One, right, is that you get sometimes cars that are being lapped are doing stupid shit, and it basically interferes in the racing between first and second place in the championship. Sometimes the lapped cars might deliberately decide to, or even accidentally, fuck over one side due to a slip up, and it causes the entire thing to just it causes a lot of drama. Like for example, the 2021 World Championship, where um, the last driver on the grid, who was a bit of an incompetent moron, slammed his car into the barriers, and that forced a safety car. And then because of that safety car, that allowed second place, which is previously 20 seconds behind first place, able to essentially catch up to first place. So that they basically had to race directly, second place race directly behind first place. And because of where the cars are situated when the safety car came out, the car in first place couldn't pit for new tires, whereas second place could pit for new tires, which meant
Mm.
when the race started again, second place was actually at an advantage despite having had an inferior race. So I definitely do like this idea of separating the top 10 guys and keeping them away from the rest of the grid so we
Well,
can focus on the
well, no,
top
that's
drivers.
so when I say that it was the top 10 in points would race for their own championship, they weren't separated from the rest of the grid.
Oh, they weren't
So
separated.
they would
Okay. Okay.
no, is that they would still have to qualify and like so they would still have to qualify and practice and do everything with the full 43 car field.
Right. I see.
but the thing about at least older NASCAR is sure wrecks are going to happen. That's just unavoidable in this sport.
Mm.
And things happen, but I mean, there was at least a long time ago, there used to be a at least a sense of honor and integrity when it came to these races. You weren't going to
Yeah.
wreck one championship contender because you were better buds with this other championship contender. At the end of the day, every car is racing for themselves, even
Yeah.
if you're on a team.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's team you don't you kind of want to race for the team, right? But if team orders gets in the way of like your own, gets in the way of your own career progression, then you're not going to necessarily follow team orders, right?
Yeah. So and here's one of the the most blatant example of this was Spingate.
Oh, Spingate. I've not heard of Spingate.
So there's quite a few videos on this. I think Eli Productions 49 on YouTube has a pretty good video on this. If I think he was the one who made it, but basically what happened is it was 2013, and this screwed up the whole championship thing. So it was the final race before the championship, before the chase cut off, and Martin Truex Jr., Clint Boyer, and Brian Vickers are racing for Michael Waltrip Racing.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't know who Michael Waltrip is, he's the younger brother to Darrell Waltrip.
Right. Yep.
And so Truex needed like 2 or 3 positions to make it into the chase. And so eventually team orders started coming down. All right, Brian Vickers, all right, we need you to pit. And at first he's like, well, what do you mean I need to pit? No, what's going on? They're like, yeah, we're gonna pit right now. We need you to pit. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm fine. And it's like he's literally arguing with his crew chief and his spotter,
Yep.
going, why are you guys telling me to pit?
Yeah.
And eventually they're like, yeah, we need you to pit for a reason. And they're like trying to hint, hey, we're trying to give Truex another position so we at least have one car in the chase. And he's like, oh, okay, so actually I have a tire going down. They're like, yep, no, you have a tire going down, so we need you
That's
to
funny.
pit. And
So just to interrupt you there quickly, sorry, they
yeah.
do the same thing. They did the same thing in Formula One sometimes. It was there's one famous radio call where it said, I can't remember who it was, but the team called one of their drivers and they basically said your teammate is faster than you, right? So this guy was ahead of his teammate and he goes, your teammate is faster than you. Do you understand what I am saying? Your teammate is faster than you, right? He's like, okay, I'll give up the position. Sorry, yeah, go on.
So it gets even worse here in a minute. So Brian Vickers pits as they're coming to the green. So Truex gets the one position, but Truex needs something else. All right, he needs something big. So apparently, because here's the big part is, in the case of this scenario, this was planned out, which was the biggest thing that NASCAR would hit him for at the end of this. But eventually, no, so the race gets going, and Truex needs just a little bit more help. And eventually, Clint Boyer's spotter just out of nowhere asks him, hey, is your arm starting to hurt? Is your arm starting to hurt? I bet it's really hot in your car. And Clint Boyer spins himself out to bring out a caution, which would bunch the field back up together, which would allow Truex to get a couple more positions to get into the chase. So he spins himself out.
Yeah.
He goes to pit road. They fix up the car, and then afterward, and mind you, NASCAR listens to all of the radio communication.
Yeah,
they have
should, yeah.
all of the radio communication, and they can just press a button and bring that stuff up. It's literally a pull that clip up, Jamie.
Yeah.
type moment with the officials. And so afterward, I forget which reporter it was, but she goes up to Clinton Boyer and is like, that basically asked, did you spin yourself out on purpose? And everyone's like, okay, Clint can save this by saying something that is possible. No, it is feasible, maybe not likely, but is
yeah.
It still has the benefit of the doubt.
Do they have
And he
access to
goes,
the telemetry data as well? Like, can they see like what like the
not
bottom
at
of
that
it?
time.
Not at that time. Okay.
Not at that time. That would, I don't know when they were able to start looking at, it's called the SMT data, but I don't know when they were able to start looking at that. They used to not have anything like that at all,
Mm.
as from what I'm aware of.
Yeah.
But so Clint Boyer goes, no, I think we must have had a flat tire, and then the 88 must have gotten into me, man. I'm not sure what happened there. All I
Whoopsie
know is I
daisy.
started going around, and it was the most unbelievable story ever. And what ended up happening with this was Michael Waltrip Racing would receive the largest penalty in NASCAR history. Truex would be ejected from the playoffs, and Ryan Newman would be put back in. And then for some reason, they're like, yeah, and then we're going to add Jeff Gordon as the 13th driver to the 12-man chase playoff.
Yeah, Jeff Gordon.
Um, and they also fined Michael Waltrip Racing $300,000.
What? Oh, that's not. That's not too bad. Honestly, I was expecting worse. I take it.
Well,
How much do NASCAR drivers get earned normally?
uh, I let's see. I know that at least for the Daytona 500, they used to earn almost $1 million,
Hmm. Not very much,
and
honestly.
that
Yeah.
was guaranteed to the driver. That wasn't even the full winnings. But this penalty was so massive that it ended up causing Michael Waltrip Racing to close less than 3 years later.
Christ. Honestly, yeah. I'm surprised actually it did that much damage to his career, I guess. But yeah.
So I know the 300,000 may not seem like a lot in the grand scheme of things,
Hmm.
but I mean, no, at this by this point, NASCAR was on a very steady decline. So teams are already like, all right, well, we're not earning what we used to, no, and money every year is just getting tighter and tighter. So I mean, I won't don't want to say they're scraping for dollars, but they're like, look, if we get hit with anything massive, it's game over.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. It's like, well, at that point, you're in it just for the love of racing. But yeah, once you take financial hits like that, I guess that's kind of like the last straw, probably, because of 300K, that'd probably be like what the price of a car, two cars, maybe.
Let's see. I believe at the time, um, it was like $200,000 to bring one car to a track.
Mm.
But what teams do a lot of the times is they'll have cars for certain tracks. So they'll have one car body for all the super speedways, and then one car body for all the intermediates, and then one car body for all the short tracks. So if you destroy one of those three cars, you have to go and build an all new one to to be able to race at the tracks competitively.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, the guys producing the cars aren't going to be happy with all that extra work either, I imagine.
Yeah, that's it. Why would they be so oblivious about it? And because Clint Boyer couldn't take a hit, I guess.
Yeah, that they.
Clint Boyer and Brian Vickers just didn't understand what was going on. They're like, hey, no, we want to try to win this too. And you're telling us, hey, well, we need you to not win? Like that goes against everything these drivers are trying to do.
Yeah, it's basically like rules lawyering, isn't it? It's like it's blatantly obvious what they're doing, but it's like, as long as they use the correct wording and they have that plausibility of deniability, then it's like, well, show us you can't actually prove anything. That's just you assuming, right?
See, but here the problem with this is it takes everyone has to be on the same page, and Brian Vickers and Clinton Boyer were not.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so that covers, I guess, what this lawsuit's been about so far. I haven't really seen it hit the news that much either. Well, I definitely wouldn't hit the news here in the UK because we don't care about NASCAR. I didn't see much of it when I was in the US either. Is this like is
it's
this a big deal, or is this kind of being slept on?
it's a big deal for the racing world, but outside of the really outside of just like motorsports in general, it's nothing. Nobody's gonna cover this. Nobody really cares.
Hmm.
Sure, there might be the occasional article written on it, but I mean, it's never gonna be on the new like on the world news with David Muir going, Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin are suing in NASCAR for this. Nobody's gonna care because
Yeah.
NASCAR. If this, let's say we had everything happening now, but it was happening in like 2007, then I think there might have been a chance for no, it actually hits mainstream news. It'll get put on like the World News Tonight, CBS, ABC, all that. Even if it's just for a minute, but they'll be like, hey, no, our one of our biggest industries is being sued by the people who are in that industry. No, we haven't seen this before. But NASCAR's so small compared to what it was 20 years ago that outside of the fans, nobody cares.
Yeah, I was going to ask actually. I know that at one point, about 10, 15 years ago, NASCAR was on a heavy decline. It's probably not got back to its glory days, but is it still on a decline? Is it getting better these days? Is it getting new audiences?
Uh, I think it's getting better. I think it's getting a little better. So I know in between like 2018 to 2021 is really when like we were at our absolute lowest.
Hmm.
But 2022 saw a slight uptick in viewers and track tickets being sold. And then 2023 saw both a incline and decline, probably because two of the biggest stars got injured and were out for several weeks.
Right.
Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, this year has, for the most part, has seen a pretty not substantial but steady increase in um viewership and ticket sales.
Right. Yeah, I think Formula One is trying to push into the United States as well recently. I don't know if that will hurt NASCAR if they're successful with that.
I think really it'll sure I think there's going to be some overlap because there are people who are like, as long as it's motorsports, I'll watch it.
Mm,
But the reason a lot of people are fans of NASCAR and not Formula One is because in Formula One, there's only maybe what 20 of these super highly specialized cars out
sounds
on the
right.
track at any given time.
That's right.
Meanwhile, in NASCAR, there are 36 to 40 cars that could look like the car that you drive around on the road. Sure, the
Yeah,
inside isn't gonna look
yeah.
like that, but on the track, it's gonna have the same body shape. You're like, man, my look at my car out there on the road,
Yeah, that's my
or my car out there on the track. Look
that's
at
my
that
Chevy
24.
Malibu.
That's well, it's mostly like the people who own Camaros and Mustangs now, but they'll be like, look,
Yeah,
there's
pony
my
cars, not
Mustang out on the
Malibus.
track.
Yeah. I imagine that. Imagine like a, you know how Formula One has like feeder series, like for younger people, like Formula Two and Formula Three and stuff.
Formula
Imagine,
4.
yeah, stuff like that, right? And it's like imagine that. Imagine if like NASCAR's equivalent of Formula Three is like stock car racing with fucking Chevy Malibus and like Nissan Altimas. That'd be great.
So,
Yeah,
so
just don't
in
even get
the
professional drivers. Just get your average Nissan Altima driver on the track.
all right, so actually, so the cars that used to be run like in the mid 2000s, and actually, so in the Gen 6 era, Ford ran the Ford Focus as their
Really?
main entry. Yeah.
Focus and NASCAR. I've seen
Um
it in rally. I've never seen it in NASCAR before.
and then let's see, Chevy ran the Impala and Toyota's always run the Camry. They've never run
Yeah,
anything but the Camry.
Camry's a
But it's the
beast.
only place you're gonna find a V8 Camry is on NASCAR.
Yeah, a V8 Camry would be fucking sick. You know, Lotus used the Camry engine for most of their V6 engine, so it is a very robust platform, including the engine.
hmm let's see. I know Dodge was in NASCAR for a while, and they used their it was the Dodge Charger. Was it the Charger? Well, I
The
have one
Charger's
right.
the 4 door, the Challenger's
Hold
the
on.
2 door.
I need to. So I still have.
I actually prefer the Charger to the Challenger
Let's see.
personally.
What car is this?
Anyone else prefer the Charger to the Challenger?
Uh. All right. I can't actually tell what car this is. It doesn't say. It says Dodge on it, but it doesn't give me any other hints.
What's the front fascia look like?
It's got hold on, I'm gonna look this up really quick.
Yeah, there is.
Let's see. 2003 Ryan Newman Dodge.
Was a Charger even around back then? How was the Charger? Hmm.
Let's see.
I don't know how my voice sounds on stream, by the way, guys. I don't know if I sound weird or normal. I know I already sound weird because I'm British, but yeah, my throat is fucked. It's still
Okay,
fucked at the moment.
so
Excuse me.
damn it. All right, so I know for 1 year Dodge ran the Intrepid and it did absolutely terrible.
I've never even heard of the Intrepid, so I imagine it did.
Yeah, it was not a great car.
Mm.
I believe this is their Charger
He's
entry.
getting bigger. He's inflating. Ah!
It's because I'm trying to lean into my second monitor and because mine doesn't lean forward, it just becomes bigger. Let's see. Nope, that's my 2003 Dodge car, NASCAR. Let me see. Uh, Damn it! The one thing I'm trying to look for, it won't tell me. All right, so I think it was the Charger. It doesn't really look like a Charger.
Yeah,
Let's see.
Charger would
Look,
make
all the
sense. Yeah.
Dodge models. Okay, so this is a wonderful article here. A look back at all the Dodge models that have run in NASCAR. Top leagues: NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, college basketball. Wonderful. Absolutely no information here.
What does the old Charger? I don't even remember what the pre 2012 Charger looks like. Oh, that car's gone through some
Here, I'll
generations.
see if I can take a picture of this car I have for you and send it to you. Uh, great. Now I need to clean off my damn phone camera because it's fogged up. And now my phone has turned off. Wow, nothing's working today. Oh my god.
Yeah, we were having quite a lot of technical difficulties today. Yeah, today's not been a good day. Hopefully, everything tomorrow will be
Okay,
fine.
there we go. I got it. There we go. This car, this driver and car combination was my favorite for the longest time ever until Ryan Newman left Team Penske.
Okay. Yep.
And then I was upset. And actually, I ended up stopping, not following NASCAR for a couple of years after that because I was like, well, now I don't know who anyone is because Tony Stewart changed teams, Ryan Newman changed teams, Dale Jr. changed teams, and like 5 other drivers changed teams or retired. And I'm like, I don't know who anyone is anymore.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can imagine that's the case. That's something I've shown. I never really liked football, or English football that much, soccer as you'd call it.
Mm-hmm.
When England lost the 2006 World Cup, they lost it so badly. I basically stopped watching the sport entirely. And then I tried recently in about 2016, I think, or 18, I can't remember when, to get back into the sport. But then obviously after 12 years, I didn't know who the fuck these people were on the teams anymore, so it kind of made it difficult to start caring again.
Yeah, so for me, what ended up happening is I'd keep up with NASCAR news. I'd watch the crash compilations on YouTube and all that.
Yeah, that's great. Always great. Woo!
And eventually I'm like, all right, well, you know what? Pretty much everyone that I know of has retired. So let me try to get back into it. Let me look at the current drivers and see who I think is the best.
Uh,
And that's who I'm gonna root for from now on.
oh, okay. So you basically just you pick who you think the best driver on the grid currently is, and you're like, yeah, team best guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the attitude the vast majority of fans, if anything, really take, don't they? Like most people only support Jordan because he was one of the best players of all times.
Yeah.
People support Lewis Hamilton because he's really popular, stuff like that.
I know
Hey,
my dad when my dad was really invested in NASCAR, he didn't follow a driver, he followed a sponsor.
a sponsor, that's a new one.
Yeah, so he's a very big Budweiser drinker. So he was a fan of Dale Jr. Between 2000 to 2008 or 2007 when Junior would ran the Budweiser paint scheme. And then
My God, that's
when
such an American thing to
Junior
say.
went to Hendrick, Casey Kane got the Budweiser scheme. So then my dad became a fan of Casey Kane until that got changed over to Kevin Harvick. But by that time, he had started falling off on NASCAR too, because it seemed like every year, every driver would get changed around. He was like, I can't keep up with anything anymore.
Yeah. I mean, that's understandable though, because I guess I'm kind of the same way. Because if you have certain sponsors have like a really sick drip, right? They have like really sick
Mm-hmm.
livery. So I really liked McLaren, the Formula One team, when they were sponsored by Vodafone, and they had like this black and chrome livery going on, which looked really sexy. I think everybody who grew up in my generation, we played Gran Turismo 2 and 3. We saw the Castrol like Supra, like the Castrol Corolla, that kind of green and white livery looked amazing. And there was
Yeah.
also the I can't remember what the name of the brand is. I think it's Pennzoil. The Pennzoil Skyline, the yellow and black Skyline looked amazing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think I could follow a sponsor if they create a sick livery, I guess.
And one of the things about old NASCAR is there used to be like driver team and sponsor combos for the longest time it was you when you looked at the field you knew that Dale Earnhardt Jr. was going to be driving the red Budweiser number 8 car
God bless that man.
for for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated.
God bless that.
When then you'd look at Jeff Gordon's number 24 Chevy DuPont. Now you knew that car was Jeff Gordon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But now,
iconic.
yep, but nowadays you have to go through the list and go, all right, this guy's running this car this year. This guy's running this car this year. This guy's running this car this year. Okay, now I got to remember that. And sometimes that's not even the case because just a couple weeks ago, Justin Haley and Corey LaJoy swapped cars mid-season.
Oh God, yeah, that make it even more difficult. I mean, yeah, yeah. You look at the cars here in this image, right? And it's like, yeah, it's difficult to. There's none of these really look particularly iconic in terms of the livery. You can really tell who's in what, really. I mean, these
I
two
mean, I
these two
can
have stand
tell,
out.
but that's because I'm following. Let's see the one second on the left that I believe actually I'm not even sure because that paint scheme's used on two different cars.
Hmm.
So on the very front row, second from the left, I think that's 41. So I think that's Ryan Priest, the one right by your head. The gray one.
Oh yeah,
That I think that one's
it's
Ryan Priest.
yeah, that's a Haas
The
car.
one in
It's like
front of
Gene Haas.
the
Yeah.
one in front of him, the DraftKings, that's Tyler Reddick. The Cambridge is Corey LaJoy. Fastenal is who the fuck is that? Chris Buescher. And then Unifirst is Elliott. Let's see, who's that? Bed Bath and Beyond.
Bed Bath. I didn't know you had Bed Bath and Beyond in the US. I don't know if it's a US firm.
It's I hear about them. I never see them.
It's like
I
they're really popular for their candles, right? Women love the candles that they sell there.
it's all right. So we have furniture rows, right? Where it's like okay, it's furniture row, like bedroom, kitchen, whatever. And so
Yeah.
like they'll have like entire shopping centers dedicated to furniture row, and there will be like 3 people there.
Oh, this is my car here, the Mustang with rage on the front. Yeah, that'd definitely be me. I'm far too aggressive and angry to like race in these kinds of sports. If I got tagged, or if I like someone bumped into me, I'd like want to fucking wreck them at the next corner. Personally, like I'd murder someone if I was a NASCAR driver, and I wouldn't give a fuck. I
Well,
wouldn't give
that's
a
a
fuck.
good way to get banned from the sport.
Yeah, be like fuck you, Danica Patrick.
Yeah. But so actually, I have a theory about furniture rows. So if anyone here has been in the U.S. for any amount of time, I'm sure anyone has come across like just this like shopping center of like different furniture row places, where it's like furniture row mattress, furniture row this, furniture row that. And you'll look in the parking lot and there's like maybe 3 cars in the entire parking lot for this whole shopping center. And I'm like, all right, there's not even enough cars here for the employees, but there's like 20 employees inside.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, these guys, like I am convinced that Furniture Row is some sort of Ponzi scheme.
Probably, yeah, maybe.
Because like, there's one right next to the Sam's Club I used to work at, and I'd look over, and there was the busiest day I ever saw them have. There were 12 cars in a parking lot that could probably fit close to 500.
Oh wow, 500.
That's how many cars could fit.
Oh, I see. Okay,
There
right.
were
Could
only
fit. Right.
12.
Only 12.
There were
Okay.
only 12 in the parking lot.
Yeah. Christ. Again, I don't know. 500
So
it doesn't even sound that much for America, honestly. I thought you guys would want thousands.
there are parking there are so there's the Iowa 80 truck stop that has 1,000 truck parking spots.
And that's specifically for trucks.
Yes, for like the big rigs, like the
big
ones that
rigs.
I drive.
Right, 5,000. Fucking hell.
It's the largest truck stop in the world.
Yeah, I can imagine. I don't think we even have 1,000 trucks in the UK.
And so I've been there a few times. The first time I went out there, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. But afterwards, I'm like, all right, no, this is just somewhere to park.
Yeah. Did you ever get any like really old guys try trucking for the first time?
Um,
Or was it just younger guys getting into it?
no, I mean, so when my trainer, when the guy who trained me for the company I work for, when he got into it, he was, I think he was 35, 36 when he got into it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then he spent 10 years with the company and eventually called it quits right after he got finished training 4 of us. He's like, yeah, no, I'm done. These guys are annoying the crap out of me. I still talk to him though. Um, but it's a mix. There's a lot of new guys. There's a lot of younger guys who get into it.
Hmm.
There's also quite a few. I won't say older guys because they're not quite what I'd really consider to be old age yet.
Yeah.
But they're not exactly like young enough to be brand new to the workforce type deal.
Yeah, I can imagine. Is it still like mostly Americans, or do you get like a lot of people who've just recently immigrated as well?
Uh for America specifically, I say it's mostly Americans doing it.
Hmm.
But those who come down from Canada are not.
Yeah, say Indians by any chance?
Yes,
Yeah, that's
all
I
of
know
them.
that.
I
Yeah, I know.
swear.
I know. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if it's one of those things where I could just ramble on about how much I despise them for tens of hours.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, it's like I remember when I got my Canadian permanent residency and I landed in Toronto for the first time, right? And as soon as I landed in Toronto, I almost wanted to turn back around and say to the pilot, like, "Excuse me, sir, this was a flight to Canada, right? I feel like I'm in fucking Bangladesh."
Oh man.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I only ever see like people. Like, I only ever see Mexicans when I go to the United States. I actually quite like Mexicans. They're really based. I love Mexicans.
Man, all right. So there are times where like I'll be at a truck stop or something like that. I'll be refueling or trying to park for the night or something, and I'll look over and so my truck pretty much can only fit one person comfortably.
Hmm.
And I mean, if you really wanted to, you could probably get like a spouse or a girlfriend in there with you.
Yep.
Not that she'd probably ever want to go trucking because it's a freaking hard job. And if you go through
Yeah.
Chicago, it sounds like a 2009 COD lobby in my truck.
Get him.
It,
That's a beautiful description.
oh, dude, it's bad. It is bad. But like there will be trucks that are like the size of mine,
Mhm.
and they'll park, and then like 6 guys will jump out of it.
Oh wow, fucking
And
hell.
I'm like, how the hell do you fit so many people in there?
Are they in the cabin, or have they like just stored themselves around the truck, or like where are they coming out from?
I I don't
You
like
don't even
they'll
know.
open
They're just
up.
fucking coming out of the walls.
Yeah, like they'll open up the driver's side and passenger side doors, and like they'll like be jumping out like they're jumping out of a
Like
freaking
like
airplane,
a
and I'm
fucking
like,
clown car.
where the hell are you? Yeah, literally, it's a freaking clown truck. Like so many of these guys will jump out, and I'm like, how? What do you? What is all of your purpose? Like, does one of you hold the left side of the steering wheel, the other hold the right, and then the third one holds the shifter? Like,
One
what?
limb
Like,
per person, yeah.
what do you all do?
Do you ever have to defend yourself from racially ambiguous bodybuilder hijackers west on the road? That's a very
No,
specific reference, Felix. I don't
yeah,
understand the reference to this one.
I don't understand and then you got the fourth person on ready on the brake pedal, you got the fifth person ready for the fuel pedal, and then you got the sixth person ready with the
Oh,
clutch. But no, I do not have to deal with ambiguous bodybuilder hijackers on the road. I have to deal with mobs in Chicago.
Honda Civics. God, I want to watch Fast. I'm gonna have to watch the first Fast and the Furious movie again. Now it's been a while. I
Well,
tell you,
actually, so last year at one point, I was driving through Chicago. I had to get off the interstates to go to this Lowe's store that I was delivering to, and I came out to a stop sign. I don't remember if I talked about this last time, but 20 people came out of an alleyway, surrounded the truck, and tried to climb on board.
God.
And I looked into my mirror,
That must have been scary. Yeah.
and I mean, my doors were locked. I wasn't really too worried about them because their focus seemed to be more on the trailer rather than the
Rather than
cab.
the cabin, yeah. I was about to ask. That's good. Yeah, that's a good sign. That
So,
is, you normally.
but what scared the hell out of me was I saw this kid who probably looked to be between 13 to 16. So there's an area between the cab and the trailer where all of my brake lines connect, where all of my electronic lines connect, and all that.
Hmm.
So if you yank one of those out, I'm stranded. And
Oh
I
shit.
saw this kid climb up right where those lines were. And I'm like, all right, if this kid does anything, I'm going to be stranded in an area of this city I don't want to be in to begin with.
Hmm.
And so I floored it, and I'm like, all right, buddy, I really hope you jump off because I don't feel like cleaning up bloodstains.
Oh my god. Yeah, but I mean,
And
oh god.
so I got to the store, I parked the truck, and I called the extended services, which are our after hours crew,
Hmm.
and I told them, hey, my truck basically just got attacked.
Yeah.
So I'm parked now. I'm not gonna go outside until daylight. Um, I don't know if anyone has been injured by this, and I don't intend to find out until tomorrow. And they're like, okay, let your fleet manager know tomorrow. And so I did, and then I told my fleet manager, I'm like, look, I will not drive through Chicago after dark.
I would drive through Chicago. Periods.
Yeah, I told him, I'm like, look, if between dusk to 7 a.m., I will not drive through that city.
Mhm.
I will not be in that city. I will not park in that city. I will do nothing in that city. The
Yes.
only exception is the Home Depot distribution center. While I hate it, it's fenced in, there's barbed wire, and there's 24/7 security.
Yeah, it's much safer there
So
than
it's
some
the
random street
only
in
place
Chicago.
in Chicago. It's the only place in Chicago I will stay at overnight.
I think all the truck drivers in the movie they carry a sawn off, or they carry some form of short barrel um under underloading shotgun. I think you need to take one of those with you. So maybe saw
So
down
here's
an M4, a Benelli M4 or something.
so my company's policy on firearms in the truck is know the laws of the region you're driving in.
Hmm.
The problem with this is Chicago, because Chicago is basically a gun-free zone.
Oh,
So
well, I
even
mean,
though I have
yeah.
an Ohio concealed carry license and Ohio is an open carry state, I cannot take that into Chicago because Chicago is like, nope, none of that is valid here.
Oh, okay. So like, it's not a case of the feds wouldn't say that because you're a truck driver who's coming from this destination, then those laws carry across as long as it just remains in your truck. You are subject to those laws as you travel through the different states.
So there is a gray area here, but it all depends on what municipalities will enforce what. So
Hmm.
the rule of thumb is supposed to be as long if it's in your truck, no, your it's basically like no, if it's in your truck, your home state is precedent.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would make
But a
sense.
lot of cities don't care.
They don't care, so they violate the Constitution.
I mean, any gun laws is a violation of the Constitution to begin with. So
True. Yeah.
violation of rights is not uncommon in the United States, I'd
Oh
say.
yeah,
Anyway,
that
but
is a question. That is a question I want to ask. Yeah, these places like Chicago and New York that ban guns. It's like, hang on a minute, isn't that a violation of the Second Amendment? How the fuck can they do that?
so so we have the big US government that everyone's familiar with, but we
Hmm.
also have state governments which I'd say pretty much pass more laws and that's where um regional laws come into effect. So like Ohio is a stand your ground, open and concealed carry state.
Hell yeah, buddy. Hell yeah.
But Chicago is not.
Boo, and that's why it's a shithole.
Yep. Chicago and Illinois is not. So the gray area here is I live in Ohio, so technically my laws carry into my truck so long as they are inside the truck, right?
Right.
But if push ever actually comes to shove, Chicago will not care where I'm from. I did something in their city. They're going to prosecute me by their laws.
Can you not shoot the feds and say you were exercising your Second Amendment right?
I wish.
Ah, shame. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I'd be very responsible. Going no, if I was an American, right? It's like I go to somewhere like New York and they try to take my gun away from me. I'd be like, no, no, you're not. No, you're not. Try it.
And then yeah, it's one of those
Persians,
things where
come and take
where
them.
that's like if I had an assurance that if if something were to happen, if I were to carry in my truck and something were to happen in Chicago, I would be prosecuted according to if not in Ohio,
Mm,
according to Ohio law.
right.
But
Okay.
that's not the case. That's not even though I'm sure that something like that is supposed to happen. And again,
Yeah.
I'm not we're this is not legal advice.
Yeah.
We got to keep reminding everyone of this. This is not
Yeah.
legal advice. But if I had a guarantee that if something were to happen involving me inside my truck, that I would be prosecuted according to my home state, I'd be like, all right, cool. I'm gonna act accordingly then. Sure, I'm not gonna go around blasting everything I see because nobody likes that. But that's just not how it works. So that's even though truckers have like this gray area, it's one of those things where it's like, all right, how much are you actually willing to risk?
Mm, yeah. I
And
mean,
for
it's
me,
not really worth it,
I'm
is it?
not I'm not willing to risk it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like what for, right? I mean, it's everything's
Yeah.
insured as long as there's no threat to your life. I mean, who cares, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, no, that's fair
So
enough.
I mean, it's one of those things where like in Ohio, you can defend property as well.
Yes, that's a big
Whereas
one. Yeah.
so like Ohio, West Virginia, you can defend property as well. So if somebody is attacking your vehicle, you can take action to stop them from attacking your vehicle, whatever that may be.
Yeah, it's
But
really bad in the UK. In the UK, you can't defend property or yourself. You're expected to have the authorities do it, but then the authorities don't want to come out and do anything about it. So it's like, yeah, what do you do? Nothing.
So in states like New Jersey, I'm sure California has these on the books. New York and I'm sure Illinois have what are called duty to retreat laws.
Oh
So
god, yeah,
basically
that's what we have. Yeah, yeah.
if somebody is attacking you or your property or something like that, it is your responsibility to leave the situation
Fucking stupid.
to stop it.
No, yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like, all right, but the only place I'm gonna be able to retreat to from my driver's seat is to my bed, which is 3.5 feet away.
Yeah, exactly right. You've got nowhere to retreat to. It's dumb.
So it's like, no, what do you want me to do? I'm basically backed into a corner from the get-go.
Mm. Yep. But yeah. Did you have anything more you wanted to talk about with the NASCAR stuff? I guess you kind of got on a ramble there about guns and self-defense.
All right, so there is one more thing I want to talk about. It's not going to be lawsuit related, but I need to get you to a NASCAR race. I need to get you, and I'm not sure if there's any particular track you'd want to go to, but I know I was
Daytona.
trying. All right, yeah, Daytona's always the big one. I'm trying to get my own plan to go to Daytona, but that's been put off for a year. But Michigan is another really, really good track. It's not quite as big as Daytona, but if anything, I'd say it has slightly better racing than Daytona.
Yeah.
Let's see, Joe, what are your thoughts on Daytona? Well, depends on what you mean by that. As the NASCAR capital of the U.S., I love it. I mean, I've been to Daytona once. I got to do a speedway tour. It was awesome. Those turns are massive. But I mean, it's I'd say it's a pretty cool place. Oh, let's see. But I need to get you to a track like either Daytona or Michigan. Michigan, I love Michigan Speedway. It's really cool, especially because it's a 2.5 mile oval, right? So it's not quite as big as Daytona, but it's one of the fastest tracks in the series.
Is it the biggest race as well? Is it NASCAR's biggest race, Daytona?
Daytona is NASCAR's biggest race. Yes.
Yeah. I really want to go there for the food and the drink. I want to see what exciting food and drinks are on offer. Is there like a big? I take it there's like loads of places set up there to sell like weird stuff.
Let's see. When I went to Daytona, I mean, it wasn't really the place of note, at least for me, is right across from Daytona International Speedway is a restaurant called Cheddar's. And actually,
Cheddar's. I didn't get to go there last time, unfortunately. Yeah.
Cheddar's sponsors Kyle Busch, and we talked about this last time.
Yeah,
we talked about this last time because we also discussed what the because they have a special called the championship, like the championship special, and it was like chicken tenders and fries, and everyone thought it was gonna be like like some type of steak or something like that, or no, something kind of fancy, but no, it's just chicken tenders and fries.
I do love a good American steak, but American chicken's really good as well. I think yeah, you guys are really big on Cajun in the United States. I don't know what else you like to put on your steaks, but something about them, man, just hits different compared to UK steaks. Don't know if it's like you put some kind of weird shit in there that's like really unhealthy or what it is.
Yeah. There was this one video where these two British guys, they come to the US and they went to this barbecue place.
Yeah, I love those guys. I know who you mean.
And so they're like cutting the ribs with a fork or with a knife. And one of the I don't know if it was the guy who was the chef or what what he was, but he comes around. He comes around and he goes, "Whoa, I'm gonna have to stop you guys right there and have you put down the knives." And the British guys are looking up at him like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "No, you eat it with your hands. You rip it apart with your hands and you eat it with your hands."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, okay, no, that's cool. We always like eating with our hands, but no, we've never expected meat able to be like that." And then so they lift up the ribs to their mouth, and the one dude takes a bite, and like you just see.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie Ratatouille?
Yeah. Yeah, oh,
You know
I know
the
exactly what you were gonna say. Yeah, yeah, that scene.
yeah, so
Yeah,
you know when like when he eats the cheese and it does that weird thing behind him, and then he eats the grape and it does that, and then eats them both and it combines the two.
yeah. And
Like
his
you can
face is like,
just see that. You can see that go through his entire mind that he has never eaten something like that before in his life.
he probably genuinely hasn't either, given how British food is, how incredibly like British food is
Beans on
basically,
toast.
yeah, it's basically beige and brown. It's basically beef and gravy and like boiled vegetables is 99.9% of British food. So he goes to the United States, he tries like barbecue ribs for the first time, and it's like, what the fuck are these flavors? I've never experienced anything like that before, right?
Like it was an experience of a lifetime for these two.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like I love a good bunch of ribs myself. Admittedly, though, I always knew to eat them with your fingers, but in the first
Mhm.
instance, actually do kind of separate the little bone pieces with the knife first, because like if the ribs are covered in barbecue sauce, I don't want to get my hands that dirty, like that sticky.
Yeah. But I need to get you to a NASCAR race at some point. The two tracks I'd say everyone says to go to Atlanta, and don't get me wrong, Atlanta's a good track,
Hmm.
but if you really want to see what good racing can do, go to Michigan. Go to Michigan because I think Michigan has the best racing in the whole series. And that's
Michigan,
not
okay.
coming from a bias for me because even though I'm not from Michigan, Michigan is considered my home track for NASCAR because it's the closest one to me.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
But
I've
I
not
know
heard of Michigan before. Yeah, okay.
I've gone to the Michigan races for the past 2 years, and each time has only gotten better.
Is it crowded, Michigan? Do many people go there? Or was it like a more quieter race?
So if you go to the Friday and Saturday races, there's not too many people, but the Sunday race is like almost entirely sold out from what I'm told,
Hmm,
and
okay.
there's a lot of people there. But it's one of those things where no, there are so many people that you think you're going to be standing in lines for hours, but you're not.
Yeah, that's good. I can't fucking stand waiting in line for hours anymore. I'm too old for that shit now.
And the other thing I do is I get the champions club, which is it's like it's not quite like a suite or a lounge, but it's an air conditioned area. You have unlimited food and drink. Um and then you have outside seats where you can watch the race set. Then they give you a scanner and ear protection. And it's really cool. It's really nice and is well worth the money.
Oh god, yeah, that's a good point. It's been so long since I've actually physically attended motorsports. I forget that. Yeah, you might want to take like hearing protection with you. It can be really loud when you've got, I guess, 40 big chunky V8s on the road.
Yeah.
what's the
Let's see.
um what's the displacement
Uh,
of a NASCAR engine? Is it a 5 liter?
uh I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Let's see. I'm gonna look it up really quick. Uh,
Yeah.
I actually let's see.
Take it they
5.9.
5.9. Oh, that's a beefy engine. Big boy.
Yep. 5.86 to 5.9.
Right, 5.86 to 0.9. Yeah, okay. I guess that's, yeah, they kind of put it in between those values. I'd like to see NASCAR V10s, honestly. I love the sound of a V10.
I don't think so. Right now, the talk is that NASCAR may in the next 10 or so years might go down to V6,
Uh,
but
I think that will kill the
but
sport, honestly.
but the thing is they might do it only if they can retain how the racing is now with the sound, with the speeds, with everything.
Yeah, the sound is such a big thing. Ever since Formula One used to make such beautiful sounds back in the day, whether it was the V10s, 12s, or 8s, and then they switched over to hybrid V6s, and they just sound awful, and it takes a lot of the excitement out of the racing.
Because I know NASCAR has been looking at getting into either V6 or hybrid, or like not electric. They're not doing electric. At least there's no plans to replace NASCAR with electric right now. But they're thinking about doing like one of those like hydrogen engines or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're like, all right, the caveats with these are the sound has to stay. The biggest thing is the sound has to stay.
Yeah, let me just show you guys like a video quickly of what Formula One used to sound like. When you listen to Formula One today, the cars are kind of like, but back in the day they used to sound like this. That sounds absolutely incredible, right? And then when you listen to cars these days, it's just like it sounds like a Hoover, right? It sounds like a vacuum cleaner that like just takes all the excitement and the spectacle out of it.
And here, let me see if I can send you one of my videos from this year. Still have, and then you can try to show it on stream or something from my time at NASCAR this past year. I need to go through all these damn airsoft videos.
You know,
let's see.
I've never been.
Let me
I
see
used
if
to
I
go
can get the
paintballing
flyby.
I've never been to airsoft before. It sounds right up my alley.
It is really cool. It's a lot of fun too. Let's see.
I'm the kind of person, I take airsoft way too seriously. Like halfway into the round, I'd throw my gun away and I'd be hiding in the bushes with a real knife, like waiting to slit someone's throat. Right, like I'm just go full operator mode.
Oh man, so I know the field that I go to, you're allowed to bring like rubber melee weapons, but if you bring an actual one, they will not let you even go into the camp area.
That's fucking funny. I just turn up looking like I'm from the fucking like I'm from the 15th century.
Like it's like they're like, all right, no, you can bring tools and stuff like that because no maintenance needs to be performed and all that, but like Swiss Army knives are allowed in the camp area for if you need to cut something or whatever. But if you are like, you can't even bring Allen wrenches out on the field.
It's like, imagine turning up to an airsoft game, right? And like the other team start like digging fucking trenches and shit, building sandbags, right?
Well, there are places that do have trenches and stuff like that for airsoft fields.
Yeah. It's like, imagine just an airsoft team starts building their own trenches, and they've got like fucking engineers and sappers who are like building a tunnel under the other team so they can blow you up from underneath.
Yeah. All right. I sent you a video that I recorded of a flyby at Michigan. It's 16 seconds long, and it is awesome.
You sent it to me on Discord, I think, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, God. How do I get chat back up again? Hang on,
it
is. I'm just trying to figure out now how to get chat open because obviously it's got the streaming thing up. Pop that out, put that there. No, that's not worked. I think I might have hidden this. Oh God, hang on a minute. I'm having my boomer technical difficulties. I don't know how to get the chat back open. Hang on.
All right, standing by.
Yeah.
But I know.
Here we go.
We have had some. Oh, we got it.
Yeah, I got it. Okay. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's great. I love sounds like that. That's the thing that I think a lot of people who are into cars don't get these days. People always, with like the electric vehicles, people are obsessed with the 0 to 60 times and like the sheer speed of the cars, but without the sound, right, without the theatrics of it, it just feels soulless and boring. It's not about the speed, it's about the entire package, I find.
I know when Richard Hammond was driving the Rimac Concept 1, like it was one. So I know Jeremy Clarkson and James, they were like, all right, no, this is kind of cool and all, but no, there's no sound to it, and we don't think it's actually that powerful. And then so they did like one of the drag race test with it, and this thing just instantly gone. And it was sort of like, and you know, you see Hammond in his car just like completely like sucked into his seat as he's speeding up. And later in that episode, he crashed it and broke his leg
Yeah,
and
I was about to
almost
say
burnt
he
to death.
crashed it. Yeah, bless him. He always crashes cars. Poor Hammond. Hammond! Hammond, you idiot. Hammond,
Yes.
you idiot. You bloody fool. You've
Yes.
destroyed another car. Power!
Yeah.
George Clarkson's farm.
Are you familiar with Soviet Womble by chance?
I fucking love Soviet Womble. Yeah, good man.
There is the one Arma video where they had to go save Jeremy Clarkson.
I've not seen that one.
Oh, I forget which video it is, but they had to extract a high value target from some group or whatever, and as they're approaching the compound, all they can hear is like things like Porsche 911, power, screw the BBC.
It's a Beetle. Hammond, it's a Beetle that you've driven here. It's not a real car. It's a Beetle.
McLaren P1.
Oh, the what was it? That Toyota with the V10. I forget its name now. That supercar that Toyota made. No, not Toyota. Lexus. Lexus made it. Lexus LFA. The LFA. Yeah. God,
Okay.
what a wonderful sounding car that is as well. Beautiful car. So I want a V10 car before I die. I'm not sure I'll be able to afford one before that my goddamn communist government bans petroleum vehicles. I don't know, but are you guys like getting rid of petroleum vehicles soon as well? Are you going all electric?
Some states are trying to do so. Other states are like, well, you guys are insane. Don't do that.
Yeah, Al Run here said something interesting. He said, I think electric cars that have a sportiness to them need to emphasize the electric motor whine. I actually agree with you there, Al. Even if there's nothing that's quite as special as like a V12 or V10, I do actually quite like those electric motor whines. I think if they did something with that, I'd actually be quite happy with that. But well, yeah, when they're dead silent, it's obviously dead boring. No cup holders.
I know. All right, so I know. I'm not sure if Formula One does this, but I think they do. But I know NASCAR for lower speeds already they have like more of like a focus on like an electric motor for quick propulsion at lower speeds. So like entering, exiting pit row and stuff like that. So like when you're looking in the car view of the cameras, you can hear the electric motor whine a little bit more than the actual engine.
Oh,
while they're at the
okay.
lower speeds.
Yeah.
But when it's the higher speeds, it's that V8 100%.
Ah, interesting. God, yeah, I imagine that makes some interesting sounds. I think with Formula One, I imagine it's more about just emissions and painting a good, I guess, like image for the environment. Formula One is a very hypocritical and corrupt sport. They're very SJW like, but then at the same time they take like Arab oil money and like they race in areas where they hang like homosexuals by the neck until they're dead on cranes, right? But then they're like, oh yeah, we all race together as one, as we take money from these regimes, right?
Yep. It's I saw a post on Reddit that I knew was I'm like, okay, this is kind of funny, so I'm gonna comment something that I know is gonna get me banned, and it was something it was one of these subreddits are like, oh well, America is doing all these things to the LGBT. Where can I go to get out of here? And I'm like, okay, this is going to be a really bad comment, but I'm gonna make it anyway because it's gonna be funny. And I'm like, oh, I heard Saudi Arabia is very diverse. And instant ban. Instantly banned. Like I hit send and I got a notification saying that I was banned from that subreddit. And I'm like, good, mission accomplished. I will never see anything from the subreddit ever again. Thank God.
Well, I mean, it is a diverse country in the sense that they have a lot of different kinds of slave labor there. That's how it's diverse, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been following this stuff, by the way, with Johnny Somali in Korea?
I've honestly, I'm not too concerned with that, but I have been following it and just in hopes that I can see a post saying that Japan and Korea have banned him from ever entering the country ever again.
You're a much nicer guy than I am. I'll admit I'm looking forward to news that he's been seriously had his shit pushed in. Personally,
I mean,
I
he
don't want him
did
to
get
die.
attacked recently.
Yeah, I'm not looking to see news of him being killed, but I just want to see news of him of like being hit so badly he doesn't want to do it again. If I'm being honest.
Listen, I mean, the best case scenario just in general is that Korea and Japan just permanently bans him. So even if he tries again, they just won't let him in because
Mm,
even if he gets his shit rocked by somebody, that won't necessarily stop him because it doesn't tend to stop people like him.
yeah, it's really surreal as well because it's just I don't understand the mentality that leads him to doing that, and I don't understand how he has so many followers and viewers that are egging him on to keep doing it as well.
Yeah.
It's really weird shit. Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's his only concern is his views and his comments.
God, yeah, it's such
'Cause
a soulless, just empty, almost evil way to live. Just caring solely about the admiration and like the money of strangers on the internet who don't give a shit and encourage you to do disgusting things. That man needs
yeah.
Jesus. That man needs Jesus, man.
hmm there's a lot of people in this world that do.
Yeah, the literal clout goblin. You're absolutely right, Beowulf. I mean, since becoming a content creator myself, it's weird because before becoming a content creator, I had I guess almost perfect discipline, impulse control, and wasn't a particularly like greedy or an ambitious person. But I don't know, the pursuit of funny numbers sometimes does encourage you to do, I guess, like weird shit you wouldn't normally do, and you don't even realize that you're doing it sometimes. And it's not until like afterwards
Well,
you think, oh fuck, why did I do that?
well, I don't. I know for me at least. I mean, here's one of the things. Hindsight is always 2020,
Hindsight
right?
is always 2020, yeah. Yeah.
Hindsight is always 2020. No, you'll do something that you think maybe it's good, maybe it's stupid, maybe it's whatever in the moment, but you look
Hmm.
back at it, sometimes even just the next day, and you go, "Yeah, I probably shouldn't have done
Yeah.
that."
Yeah.
And I mean, I do this all the time. I mean, shoot,
I
I
do as well, yeah.
there was a bit of an incident yesterday at the distribution center I was picking up at, and I'm like, and like literally not even an hour after that, I'm like, yeah, I probably could have handled that a little bit better, but in the moment, I'm like, all right, look, I'm trying to stand up for myself. Because when I first started trucking, one of the things my parents told me is don't let people push you around because you look so damn young that some people might even question if you're legally able to drive, which
Yeah.
has happened dozens of times. I
Oh,
think I'm up
really?
to like 14 now.
I think that's a good problem to have, personally. I think that's a good one to have. Yeah.
I mean I find that funny, but the issue with that is people are gonna look at me and go, oh well, he's so young and inexperienced that we can just tell him to do whatever and he'll probably do it.
He's just a young whippersnapper. We're not going to give him no respect.
And
No siree.
and there are a couple of my coworkers who did that, but not in a serious way, right? They were just screwing with me a little bit. Like
Mm.
I was at Lowe's once and I was picking up a
Ooh,
load,
lows.
two tarps on the trailers,
Mhm.
and there was this little piece that was kind of hanging off the tarp, like it was ripping off the tarp. And one of the guy next to me, he's like, "Hey, you need to get up there and fix that, right?" And I looked up at it, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, "He better not be fucking serious." And
No.
and after a minute, he's like, I'm just screwing with you, right? I don't care. You don't have to fix that." And I'm like, I mean, honestly, if anything, I would have just waited for you to leave
Yeah. If I
so
was
I
a
wouldn't have to do it.
Yeah, if I was a younger guy, I would definitely would have done it. But I've kind of after a while, you deal with so much bullshit in life and work, right? That as a kid,
Yeah.
I would have done it, but now, right, I wouldn't have even waited to see if he was joking or not. I would have hit him straight back with the, you have to. I would have said something like, you have to go fuck yourself, right? I would have been like that. Yeah, I need to calm down a little bit. I'm starting to get more aggressive as I get older because I'm just done with the bullshit.
Yeah. I don't, well, for me, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I know what he just told me is ridiculous, but he's been doing this for X amount of years more than me. So I'm like, all right,
Mhm.
is he being legit or is he just trying to screw with me? And most
Yeah,
of, I mean, for at least for my coworkers, I mean, it's pretty much they're all just screwing with me, at least at first, because no, I'm the new guy, so of course
yeah. So it's
they're
a
gonna pick
hazing
on me a
ritual.
little bit.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
hazing ritual, like most places have it when
and
it's full of men. Yeah.
and I never really got upset about it. I know I'm like, well, I know I'm the new guy on the block, and so I'm gonna be the one that they're gonna be screwing with. No, it
Yeah.
soon enough it'll be my turn to do that to the new guy.
It's a character test, right? Because if
Yeah.
someone gets all pissy or whatever, over something as basic as that, they're probably not going to be, the kind of guy that you're gonna want to associate with. You're not going to want to have him on the team,
Hmm.
right? So by showing
Yeah.
that you've got a bit of character with you, or that you do what you're told to your superiors, it shows that you're a good guy, right?
Yeah. And so I know like there's more than one story where they're like, hey man, you know you got to do this right, and I'm like, man, I'm like, look,
Man, fuck that, man.
I'm like, man, I really don't want to. I'm sure what you're saying is true because you're the more experienced guy here. And then they'll say, like, nah, man, we're just screwing with you. You don't got to do that.
Yeah.
And I'll be, all right, cool. That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. No, if anything, no, again, if anything, I was just gonna wait for him to leave before I did whatever.
I got a question for
But
you. Do you wear
yeah,
jeans to work?
yes.
You do.
So actually,
Yeah.
so during, so I, well, that's part of the required wear.
It's
Um,
required. It's literally required wear for a truck driver to wear jeans.
yeah. Well, because what a lot of places require is, especially for like steel places, is they require some sort of for long sleeved clothing,
Mhm.
or at the minimum long sleeved pants that if something were to like come up and hit you, it's not going to completely rip that fabric apart and
Yeah,
then rip off your leg.
yeah. God, I've
or
seen.
or whatever the case may be. So like
Yeah.
jeans are more wear. I won't say they're completely wear resistant because I go through about 2 to 3 pairs of jeans per year.
Really? Wow.
But it's because I don't want to wear my knee pads, so my knees always wear because I have to kneel down all the time to roll up my tarps and stuff.
It's true.
So
Yeah.
I'm always on my I'm always so because my injury on my left knee, I can still kneel down on my left knee, no problem.
Mhm.
It's just really uncomfortable to do so, so I just don't.
Yeah.
So
Fair
my
enough.
right knee always has the fabric get worn away to the point where I'm like, okay, well, now my knee is just exposed, so now I need a new pair of jeans, and the cycle continues. But during the winter, I got some Carhartt overalls that I wear because they're a lot warmer, they're a lot thicker, um, and they're a lot. I won't say necessarily say they're better than jeans, but during the winter, I like to wear those more than I do the jeans.
Do you find buying like more expensive, prestigious wear is like makes them last longer, or is it better to just buy like the cheapest stuff and just wear through them?
Actually, it's the opposite. The cheaper stuff tends to be the more wear resistant stuff
Oh, does it? Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
because all of the fancy designer stuff is is style over practicality,
Hmm.
or like style over like no work purpose.
Right. Yeah, that
Because
makes sense.
all of the more expensive it is, it's like, okay, well no, these jeans are meant for like doing X, Y, and Z. But I'm like, okay, well X, Y, and Z is not my line of work. It's not any sort of industry work type deal
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I'm in.
Oh God, he's disappearing. Where's
Uh,
he gone?
eh,
Bye.
no,
his
my charger,
his people,
my
his
phone
planet
charger,
needs him.
disconnected.
Hey, where you
My
doing?
phone charger disconnected.
Whoa. I thought you were trying to suck my dick or something. There, I was like, where the fuck is he
No,
going?
no, my phone charger disconnected. God, I felt it hit my foot, and
I
I'm
thought
like, oh,
something hit my foot.
my phone,
Stay away from my foot,
because
you.
I have a wireless phone charger, and that's where I put it. But it has a cord that plugs into a power strip,
Yeah, I bet you do.
and the
Yeah.
power strip, but but the plug doesn't like to stay plugged in. It likes to slowly work its way out, and then I'll feel it hit my foot. So I gotta
Mine
go
has that
plug it
problem
back
as
in, or
well.
else my phone's.
I wish.
But let's see, back to work. So no, I've been doing the whole truck driving thing for almost 3 years now, and I mean it's the same work regardless. I've just become more efficient at it.
Hmm.
But it's one of those things where it's no, when I was going through the training for my company and then going out on the road, there weren't too many people joining at that time. But now there's a lot more people joining, but it seems like at the same time the quality of training has been reduced drastically.
Yeah.
I mean, there will be time I'll go. I like to use Lowe's as an example because it's the place I go to the most. But so we have 4-inch wide straps that you actually like put onto the trailer and connect it to the trailer. But then we also have 2-inch straps that you need to connect via a ratchet, like you
Right.
would when you're moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I
you
see what
got
you mean.
those ratchets
Hmm.
to move.
Yeah.
But they're 2 inches wide instead of the usual 1 inch that most people use.
Yeah.
And I was at Lowe's. I was getting my stuff done. A guy parks next to me, gets out of his truck, and he walks over to me and he goes, "Hey man, how do I use these?" And he holds up the 2-inch ratchet.
Oh, no.
And my first thought is, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, that's
Are
really
you
worrying. That is
serious?
fucking hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, how do I use these? And I'm like, okay. So I explained to the guy how to use them, and then he finished, and I helped him to secure his trailer, and then he leaves. And then I see the guy behind him, and he's doing some really weird, really odd shit with his
Hmm.
2-inch ratchets. And so
Yeah.
I walk over to him, I'm like, "Hey man, do you know how to use these?" And he's like, "No man, I'm just guessing. My trainer mentioned it to me, but he never taught me how to use these." And I'm like,
Oh god.
"There's the second
Terrifying.
one, not even the second one today. Second one within 10 minutes."
That's gonna lead people. That's gonna cause deaths. That is fucking hell.
Yeah, it is. And I've been trying to tell my company, I'm like, hey, you guys need to check in on the training department because the
Hmm.
guys you're sending out on the road are going to kill
They're
somebody
gonna kill. They
someday.
are gonna kill someone. Exactly. Yeah. That's horrifying. I imagine the reason why it's happening, like in terms of more people coming in, is probably it's the economy at the moment. A lot of people are probably. It, it's like the whole thing. There was a huge surge of people going into software engineering because people heard that it wasn't that
That
difficult
was
to
the
get
place to go
into.
to.
It was the place to go to. It's not that difficult, and you can get lots of money. And I think trucking has always been one of those things that kind of people say that you can get a lot of money into trucking and you don't need like any don't need particularly good grades at school. So it's kind of like when the white collar jobs are doing well, people forget that trucking potentially you can make money on. And then when the white collar jobs in a bad economy aren't doing so well, and all of a sudden people start talking about potentially doing trucking again and how much truckers make, but they don't
Mhm.
realize obviously trucking is a very difficult job. It's a very physically and mentally demanding job as well, and there's a lot
Yeah,
of technical stuff that you do need to know in order to keep your truck running. Obviously.
yeah. So and like for my company, I don't really need to know about really the technical stuff about how the truck actually like works and runs like maintenance wise because the company will take care of that completely.
Hmm.
Company pays for everything, fuel, maintenance, wear and tear, all that. But when it comes to load securement, I mean that's one of those things that you don't mess around with.
Yeah, that's right.
And I mean, and here's the thing, I get it. No, new guys don't know everything. They're getting dropped. No, they're getting sent to places that they were never prepared for. They got to
Hmm.
figure the stuff out
Sink or
and all
swim.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
I was there at one point as well. I took a load. There's been more than one time in my first year where I took a load and then I'd stop somewhere and the driver would come up to me like, "Dude, you need to fix this. This is not safe. You have to do this."
Yeah.
And I'd be like, all right, no, I didn't know. I thought I did it the right way. So I'd fix it. No problem. I learned, I moved on and all that. But I mean, it's getting to the point where, I mean, these guys are getting dropped off the trainer truck and they don't know
Anything.
what even the basics are.
Yeah, they don't know anything. They don't know the fundamentals. They don't know what to do in an emergency.
Yeah. And And here's so like for the account I run on, I do a lot of home improvement stuff, right? So at Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, and Menards is by far the worst, but I'm not gonna get into them. I absolutely hate them.
Hmm.
Um, but so Lowe's, at least for me, is my favorite. It's the best, despite the incident that occurred on Friday. Um, but no, Lowe's, they have good loads and bad loads, right?
Yep.
And but they're usually, once you start figuring out the patterns on how they load, you after about a year and a half, 2 years, you can go in, look at the trailer, and know exactly where your securements need to go. And
Right. I see. Yeah.
it's one of those things where no, somebody can only teach you so much. You have to do it on your own.
Yeah, exactly. It's like some people as well, they learn better by doing things rather than like being
Hmm.
told in the abstract or being shown things. I'm very much someone who learns best by being shown how to do something and then having an opportunity to do that thing, a few times whilst being supervised. So yeah, I imagine they're not very flexible, I guess, these trainers in terms of like how they teach prospective truckers.
Well, one of the problems is that we don't have very many trainers,
Hmm.
and the quality of, so our classroom instruction we call the barn.
Yeah.
All right, and the barn is 1 week of learning everything by the books, and then the following week is learning in the training bay, where you learn how to secure using chains, using straps, using how to tarp, how to fold up tarps, how to do the basics, right?
Yep.
And no, then they usually send somebody out on average 3 weeks on the road with a road trainer to teach them how to do things out on the road,
Yeah.
in the weather, in the elements, in places that they may be uncomfortable in. So they, once they get their own truck, they can do so.
Hmm.
The only the biggest complaint I have about my company doing that is they don't prepare people who are going on the accounts that I run on, the home improvement accounts, with these really weird screwed up loads. I mean, compared to a steel coil, what I do will scare pretty much everyone. I mean, there are guys with 10 years of over the road experience who will come to Lowe's and spend 5 hours there
If I was
trying to
fucking
figure
hell.
out what to do.
Oh God bless them.
And
Such a
and
waste of
they'll
life.
be and they'll be, I haven't been the best recently, I haven't been the most motivated, but I mean, there'll be
Hmm.
me or other guys who can come in, the disconnect, hook up to the new trailer, secure, and be gone within an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that sounds
And
reasonable. That
it's
sounds much more reasonable. 5 hours is a
mhm.
bit like, what are you doing?
And it's just one of those things where it's the problem with them sending so many guys to accounts like the one I run on is they don't train them for it. So
Yeah.
it's when the first time if let's say you train with an over the road trainer, you've done 3 weeks of nothing but steel coils and steel bars and maybe lumber, just pure loads of lumber.
Hmm.
Um, and then you get out of the trainer truck, you're given your own truck, and you're told, all right, go to Lansing, Michigan, and pick up this load that's going to Lowe's store number 587. And you get there and you look at the trailer and you go, what the hell have I gotten myself into?
Okay, there's a potential there as well for people who aren't trained properly to cause like a final destination to affair where an
That's
unsecured lumber lot goes through fucking
well,
cars
that's
with
that's
three.
where the that's where the 2 inch straps come in. So
Hmm.
so we have things on the trailer called winches, where you put the strap into, on what you put it against the rail on one side of the trailer, and then all the excess gets winched into this thing on the other side, so you can tighten it down. It'll hold down on the trailer,
Yep.
but it only goes back so far. So there's about 8 feet of trailer where there's no access to winches. Well, I think it's more like 6 feet. 6 feet of trailer, there's no access to winches. But
Right. Okay.
but shippers are still allowed to put freight on that 6 feet.
Oh, okay.
So that's where
Hmm.
the 2 inch straps come in, because the 2 inch straps, instead of using the winches that are on the trailer, they use the ratchets that you put onto the trailer yourself.
Yeah, but if they don't know how to use the ratchet properly.
Exactly.
Oh,
That's the
Christ.
problem, because they won't be able to secure the last 6 feet of their trailers. So now you have
Yeah.
6 feet of, actually, I really don't want to admit this story, but I
Yeah.
know this happened. I was about almost
Oh, no,
just over a
spoon
year and a half,
it.
I'd say. Just over a year and a half in, I did something I am very impressed with myself that I did.
Oh, this should be
All
good.
right.
Yeah.
And it's not in a good way either.
Oh, okay.
So,
This should be good then.
all right. So I went to Lowe's and I grabbed my trailer. I'm securing my load, and I got distracted by something for a couple minutes.
Yep.
And so I went back to my truck, did whatever I needed to do, got back out, and finished putting all the 4-inch straps on, putting them in the winches, tightening them down,
Kinky.
securing the tarp,
Yep.
and then I left. I grabbed my paperwork and I left.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to the store, parked it, spent the night there. The next morning, got up, checked in, and then I went back to my truck to unlock my doors. Um, and then I went around. So I have all my 2-inch straps in my passenger seat, right? And I
Yep.
have 6 of them. And I opened my passenger side door, and I'm like, why the fuck do I have 6 2-inch straps here?
Oh no.
And
Oh
and
no.
I looked, and then I'm like, well, wait, why are all my straps here? So then I went and I walked to the back of the trailer, and the last 10 feet of my trailer was completely unsecure.
That must have been a brown trousers moment, a brown pants moment.
Well, I was already at the store, so there was nowhere else I was gonna go because they were gonna unload it right there anyway.
Yeah.
But the thing that completely got me was I left. So you have to drive by the security check at Lowe's to get your paperwork, and they want you go out with your load.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't catch it. And
Yeah.
then going down the road, I got pulled into a weigh station where DOT is, the Department of Transportation, who are supposed to look at the trailers to make sure they're secured
Oh
correctly.
my god. Yeah.
They didn't catch it.
No one's doing their fucking job, are they? It's like the story I told the other week about how I left the TSA and came back to the UK. Is that the guy was convinced I was committing passport fraud, but he let me through anyway. Probably because he thought, you know what? If I am a terrorist, it's England's problem now.
They already have enough of them over there as it is.
Yeah, exactly, right.
But see, I didn't even just get pulled into the weigh station. I got brought over to the like actual scales to weigh each axle. So they're staring at my freaking trailer, and they didn't tell me to pull around to inspect the trailer. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I left Lowe's. I went into a weigh station, and I still got all the way here with this screwed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like fuck it up. Guys, never drive behind the truck. You might genuinely get final destination these days.
I mean, luckily for me, all of the stuff that I was carrying was lumber related, or like, but no, so it's the bottoms of it was made out of wood, so it would dig into the trailer, because the way our trailers are, it's not just, even though I drive flatbed, it's the bed is not completely flat. They have like you know how chainsaws have like the teeth on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, going up completely up and down the length of my trailer, especially on the newer trailers, are these little tiny teeth that dig into whatever freight is on it
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
to help prevent it from moving.
Hmm.
And so that was probably my saving grace there, to be honest.
Yeah, I can imagine that. That helped things. I think that's part of the reason why they're there in the first place, isn't it? Really, as well, to help secure stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So at
But
least that's Billy's job.
when I opened that passenger's door and saw those straps, I'm like it
Yeah,
didn't
it's like
connect.
a
I'm like, why are all these here? I remember putting them on. I remember putting them on the trailer. Why are they here?
yeah, and it's like after a couple of seconds, you go, "Oh no."
Yeah. But that was the only time I ever did that.
Well, I mean, that's the kind of thing, right? It's like you learned a lesson there, and it was
Oh yeah.
such nothing bad happened, but it's kind of like that kind of, I guess, like you'll remember that as a shocking thing to happen, so you'll remember it, and it kind of beats that memory into you. That's the thing about
Yeah.
mistakes, right? It's like it's not always great for a mistake to happen, but when you learn from a mistake, you know you don't you tend not to do it again. Whereas if you don't
Yeah.
make the mistake, you can eventually get complacent, and you're going to make the mistake, right?
Mhm.
And then you might make the
And
mistake and when the consequences are quite severe.
yep. I know there was another time where I was doing something and I did it half correct, right? Because I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna do math here. Okay, I need to use this strap and that'll secure the weight because it only weighs this much.
Hmm.
But one of the other drivers came up to me. He's like, "Hey, you need to put two securements over that because it's the last piece of freight on your trailer." And I'm like, "Oh, well, why is that?" And he's like, "Well, the no, DOT securement, you need to have two securements on the first 10 feet and last 10 feet of your load or item of your load."
Oh, I see. Okay, right.
So I only had this, it was a single pallet of shingles, and our 2 inch straps are up to 4,000 pounds of weight securement.
Oh, wow, that's quite
The
a lot.
pallet of
Hmm.
shingles is varies between is roughly 3,000 pounds.
£3,000, right?
So in theory, I could just throw one 2 inch over it and be fine.
Yeah.
But everyone's like, no, if you got shingles like that, just throw two 2 inches over it and you'll be good. And that's what I do from now on.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
And it's just one of those things where it's like, all right, no, I'll look at it now and I'll be like, all right, I know I only need this, but I'm gonna do this instead because it's just gonna be better.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's better to be safe than sorry. Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
want to go. You don't want to, yeah, risk it by going too near the load. And it's always good to like. It's like double bagging. It's always good to have an extra there just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
Yep.
Um, yeah. So I think we've covered the NASCAR stuff now. Is there any other topics you wanted to talk about?
Let's see. Your firearms training tomorrow. Let's do a little preview of that.
Yeah, yeah. I hope I can do it tomorrow. Actually, it's like I'm surprised of the amount of stuff that people have sent me. I guess I shouldn't have been surprised, but about 40 different people contacted me with submissions, and I've got over 500, just 500 separate images, which probably accounts to
Oh,
over like
jeez.
a thousand guns I could probably show on stream. So I'm definitely not going to be able to do it all in one stream. I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
separate it over multiple streams.
that definitely sounds like multiple streams
Yeah,
thing.
we'll have to do it over multiple ones. So I think what I'm going to do in the first instance, starting with the one for tomorrow, is I'm going to kind of split it. Half the stream is going to be more about talking about like home defense, what makes like a good home defense and carrying gun, and I guess kind of like a little back and forth with chat about what it's like to own firearms in different states in the US and shooting and stuff. And then we're gonna go on a great like autistic deep dive into all the firearms that apparently my viewers own and their history, which should be good fun.
I know. I sent you the thing about my Springfield M1A that I'm gonna dress up to be like shoe guards from Black Hawk
Mm.
Down.
God, those two men are heroes.
Yeah, I
Um,
know it's I end so when I bought it, I'm like I couldn't remember. I'm like, oh, did shoe guard have his barrel with the tan coloring or did his have the black coloring? So I ended up getting the tan coloring. Turns out it was the black coloring, but it's close enough. It's the same gun, just a slightly different shade. Sounds like you need some water there.
Sorry, excuse me. I don't think chat can hear because I muted the microphone on OBS, but my fucking chest is killing me again. I've got
Ugh.
this lemon and lime water here. I've got a liter of it, and I've drank sorry about 900 milliliters. I'd say
Oh, geez.
not much left.
Well, I know I got that the Springfield M1A that I'm trying to dress up. I need to get an optic for it, but I need to find out what optic he used so I can look for it.
Yeah, I
'Cause
know
I
Gary
want
used an aim tech Pro Point, but I don't know what Randy used. Yeah.
yeah, but it's one of those things where, like, I mean, I guess I could really just throw any sort of, like, topic on it, or optic on it, but then it wouldn't be it. Let's see, was it AI or Al Run? Let's see, have you guys ever heard of Emp Lemon? Has great NASCAR documentaries. I
Really?
watch his,
Oh, I have. Yeah, actually, yeah, I have.
yeah, I watch the Dale Earnhardt one video that he did at least once a month.
That's the one I did. Yeah, that's the one I've seen. That's a really good documentary.
Yeah, I love that one. Oh, cautions out in practice. Uh-oh.
Sorry, excuse me.
Yep, no problem. Well, somebody crashed in the practice session today in the NASCAR practice session.
Oh, they all right? Does he
Uh,
live?
I'm sure he's fine.
Okay, that's good.
I got a Twitter notification going. Yep, cautions out for practice. Car crashed. The 24 team says that they're doing good. They like the way the car's set up. So the guy I'm rooting for tomorrow won this race in the spring, but NASCAR's bringing a new tire compound to the track this week.
Oh, there's
So
always
I'm like,
problems with
well,
new. There's always the problems with the new compounds.
yep.
Yeah, the grip is
So
always
I'm like,
fucked.
well, this is the one race where I'm like, look, well, actually, it's been all playoffs, but I'm like, look, you guys need to not change things mid playoff.
Yeah, yeah, it should do it at the beginning of the next season.
I mean, if you guys want to experiment all throughout the regular season, fine,
Hmm.
but once playoff comes, everything's got to be one condition.
Yeah, exactly. It becomes an uneven, just like doing an uneven test, right? It's like it's not fair when you do it in the middle of the season. It can limit
Well,
ability for teams to come back.
it's not necessarily an uneven test, but it's one of those things where if you throw something onto everyone last minute, some people are going to figure it out right away, others are not.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just one of those things where it's like, look, I mean, I guess you can do this, but it's like, why would you do this?
Yeah, why would you do this exactly? I mean, yeah, it just doesn't seem. I don't know. It just doesn't seem fair though to do it mid-season instead of like, at the beginning because the problem is that it's like yeah, I know everyone's in the same boat kind of thing, but at the same time, it's like throughout the season, people have been trying to fix the car, get it to a state where it can start winning the races, and then you put all that effort in to try and come back, and now everything's fucked. It's like it kind of just ruins the
Yeah,
flow of things, right? Whereas
yeah,
the teams who are on top have had like half a season with perfect conditions, and now like you're all back to square one again.
yep. All right, Green's back out in for the practice session. Um, let's see, back to the firearms. I know I took my brother machine gun shooting for his 18th birthday at a
I wish we
local
could do
machine
that
gun
here.
range.
That's so based. Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, he did.
What did you guys
And
shoot?
what? Let's see, he got to shoot an RPD, M60. Let's see, he got a 3-round burst M16.
Fucking Vietnam
Uh,
War era.
yep.
Guns.
Let's see, he also got to shoot a MP40.
Oh yeah, the German gun, the German SMG. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there were a couple that I took a few rounds with as well, because so my dad took me machine gun shooting when I was 18, but all of the machine guns were down that day except for one.
Oh wow,
So they're like, all right, instead we're just gonna give you unlimited rifle rentals.
that's good of him. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the free unlimited rifle rentals because all of our machine guns are down, and this is the one thing you guys came in for. But
Yeah,
when me and my brother went in,
that sucks. But then I guess I'd love to have like unlimited goes on a Garand or a M14 or something.
yeah, they had a Garand when I went. That was pretty neat.
But
But
the
I
sound
wasn't.
of that ping is ASMR.
Yeah.
It's the only ASMR I can get behind. It's that ping.
See, the only thing that I really wanted to do but didn't was to load the M1 Garand, but I had never really handled an M1 Garand much before, so I didn't know if
Get Grand Thumb, yeah.
well, see, what my worry was is when I went to insert the clip was will my hand be able to stop the slide from releasing?
Yeah, and then ah.
And yeah, it's smashing my thumb because I mean like I knew the process on how to handle it and what to do, but my worry was I wasn't strong enough to stop it,
Oh, I see what you mean.
and
Yeah.
it would just slide forward anyway. There's a way where you can just like insert it and then release it and it'll just jam your hand up. But I'm like, okay, I know what to do. I'm just afraid I'm too weak to be able to stop it. But let's see, I
You're a trucker. You got big, strong,
couple
manly
years.
hands.
This was before I was truck driving though.
Oh, okay, right.
This was a long time. I don't even think I'd graduate. No, this was the year after I turned 18, but it was like high school graduation plus birthday
Oh,
type
yeah.
deal.
You weren't a big, strong trucker man back then.
No. Well, see, in the United States, you at least when I became one, it was 21 years old to get your CDL.
What's the
That's how
CDL?
old you have to be 20. You had to be 21-year old to get your CDL,
What's that?
commercial driver's license.
Oh, I see. Okay, yep, right. Okay. I think you could do it when you're 18 here in the UK. I think.
I believe they recently changed it to 18 here in the States, but it's one of those things where, yeah, you can get your CDL at 18 now, but nobody's gonna hire you till you're 21.
Oh, what's that? Insurance reasons?
Because I'd say it has a lot to do with insurance reasons and just, I mean, here's the thing. Even when my trainers always tell me, he's like, even though they just changed down to 18, he's like, dude, I couldn't imagine doing this before 25, and you're 21
Yeah,
doing it.
that's a very good point. I think personally, I still see people under the age of 27 as still like people growing up, basically. Personally, I think people under 27 is still technically children.
And it's one of those things where even now I'm like, maybe I could have been able to do it when I was 18, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't think I was ready for it.
Yeah. I've just ignored my model, by the way, of the iPhone's lost tracking a sec. Just going to restart it.
Ah, okay. I figured something was happening.
Yeah, don't worry, just keep going.
But it's one of those things where I'm and here's the thing. Originally, I was trying to join the railroad, which was also pretty much restricted to 21, except for a few jobs. But the railroad told me no, and there's a bit of a story behind that I'll go into next time.
Okay, yeah, that sounds fun. That sounds good. Hang on a minute, I'll just restart my phone.
Yeah, no problem. But it's one of those things where it's like, no, you gotta, if you're gonna be 21 and start trucking like right away, you have to be in the mindset to do it.
Yeah, you do. You have to be a certain kind of individual to do that kind of work, I imagine.
And
yeah,
and it's one of those things where if you go into it thinking you're like this badass super trucker who knows everything, you are going to be in a world of hurt really quickly.
Yeah, you need to be humble. You need to be mature and take it seriously, and you need to ideally not have like close family, like a wife and kids or something, because I imagine that can add to the stress. I don't know.
Yeah. So I know, like, so my trainer, he trained 4 individuals. He trained me, 2 more guys, and then he trained a woman as well. And me and the second guy he trained, no, the second guy had like 1 or 2 issues that my trainer complained about, but other than that, no, just fine. He's like, nah, he was a pretty good guy. Other than that, the third guy though, nonstop issues.
Oh,
But
God, yeah.
with this third guy, he was already almost 40,
Oh,
and
he's quite an old
uh,
guy and still causing problems. Then I
yeah,
thought that'd be more of a younger guy thing.
He was definitely a bit older.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, 40 years old, bloody hell. He's
and
old, too old.
my trainer was always was telling me stories about how there was basically like a power struggle dynamic between these two, because The guy who was being trained was trying to take charge of the truck. It's like,
Oh
no, we're gonna do
yeah,
things my way. We're gonna do it this. No, we're gonna do this and that, and I'm gonna do this, and you can't stop me, type deal.
that is the
Meanwhile, my
problem I
trainer is
imagine with
like,
older people, right? So older people can, be that way inclined, like that. They know everything.
yeah. And my trainer is like, dude, you know nothing, and all you're doing is slowing us down.
hmm Yep.
And with when I got in the trainer truck, I'm like, all right, look, you're the guy in charge here. You're gonna teach me how to do this stuff, and I'm gonna do my best to learn and adapt to it. And me and him, we had one problem,
Oh,
and it wasn't too big. It didn't like it really ruin anything between us. I mean, I still talk to him 3 years later.
you still got a
So
problem with me, boy. You got a problem.
he'll bring it up every once in a while, or I'll bring it up or whatever. But there was 1 week where we were doing what are called 8-2 splits. So what we would do is we would basically split our day in half and take 2 rest periods. The only problem with his version of it is that small rest period during the day would be used to work.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, that doesn't
So
sound ideal to do that.
so the way the work day is usually goes is you work 14 hours of no, you work 14 hours and then you rest for 10 and then you get your hours of service back.
hmm
But if you do if you do a split, you can basically split your day in half. So you can do 7 hours at first, go on a like rest break for 2 hours, do the second half of your day, the 7 hours, and then rest for 8 hours. So you still worked your 14 and you still rested for 10.
And like, what's the weekly schedule? So, like, how many days a week do you do that?
It's Monday through Friday.
Monday through oh, okay, Monday, Friday, okay. Yep.
Well, I normally do the regular 14-10, not 7-2-7-8.
Okay, so yeah, it's not like it's not kind of exactly like shift work where you're not like doing 2 days on, 2 days off kind of thing. It is literally like
No,
a
it's
5 days a week thing.
it's literally like you do this by the hour type deal.
Yeah.
Like it's you have to actually like count your hours. It's not a, oh, well, we're gonna have you work like 1 p.m. to 1 a.m. or something, or like an 8 hour shift or whatever. It's your hours of operation are pretty much all dependent on how you run your weekly clock.
Okay, that makes sense. I see.
And but what he would do is he would start the 8-2 split, and so he would work 16 hours.
God, 60. I can't imagine. I think I have worked 16 hours straight before, but that's not something I could do on the regular.
So on Monday we had started with a split, so we were going to work a 16-hour day. And so we worked the first however many hours, then we did our 2 hour quote unquote rest break where we were still working, and then we did the rest of the day, and then we did 8 hours into Tuesday
Yeah.
where we
Yep.
did the same thing,
Right.
and then into Wednesday where we did the same thing. So I have worked 3 days of 16 hours.
That can't be good for you, and I'm surprised. Yeah, that's really dangerous. You
And
could easily cause an accident in those conditions.
so
Yeah.
at the end of Wednesday, uh we were we were finishing up with something, and I'm like, oh man, no, I'm ready for bed already. No, that's, even though it was at the end of the 16-hour day, I'm like, man, I thought it at the end of the 16-hour day. It was at the end of the 14-hour day, because I looked down at our electronic log form and it still said we had 3 hours left.
Oh gosh. Really?
And I looked at him and I'm like, we still have 3 hours? And he goes, yep, and we're gonna drive it out tonight. And I went, no, we're not.
Yeah. Absolutely not. Not in those conditions. What?
I'm like, no, we're not. We're not working the remaining 3 hours today.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Damn right.
And
Yeah.
after a minute, uh, he's like, I'm fine, all right, we'll do a regular 10-hour break tonight. And then I got out of the truck, and a couple weeks later, he called me and he's like, yeah, I think I used the 8-2 splits a bit much on you. I'm like, yeah, you think?
Yeah, you think exactly. What the fuck? Lunatic. Honestly, what's wrong with these people?
But I'm like, well, and he's like, well, at least you know how to do them now. I'm like, yeah, you could have taught me how to do them without spending almost a full week doing them.
Yeah. Oh god, you know, I always think about sometimes. I always do wonder, like, about getting out of engineering and doing something like, I don't know, doing something like trucking, and then it's like I hear some of the stories, and I'm like, you know what, actually, as much as engineering might piss me off sometimes, I'm much happier doing this and being on the road, particularly with you know, some people, some car drivers really don't understand, right, like the physics of how trucks work, and they do stupid shit, you
Yeah.
know, like they cut you off, or heaven forbid they try to fucking brake check you. It's like Jesus Christ. Have you
That's
ever had
at
someone
least
try to
that, and
brake check you?
I've a dozen and a half times.
Really, it does happen quite a lot. Then, yeah,
Some intentionally, and some just don't know how to drive.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
actually, earlier this week, I was where was I coming from? I think I was going through Chicago somewhere, or no, I was coming back from Wisconsin.
Hmm.
I was going towards Chicago, and here comes this lady, or was it to Chicago? I don't
Lady, of
remember.
course, always a lady. Yeah.
Um, yep, lady that flies up on my left and goes past me, notices her exit is like now on my
Oh,
like passenger door.
the old
So she
classic. Here we go.
slams,
Yeah.
like she was basically past the exit at this point, but she
Mhm.
slams on her brakes and then cuts in front of me and across 3 additional lanes of traffic to make her exit.
You know.
And
Oh,
I'm
no.
like, all right, the truck reacted, but it didn't. I'd say honestly in this scenario, it didn't react enough. My truck, the trucks are really weird with the safety feature. Where if it detects something like dead stop in front of you, it'll apply the brakes on its own,
Mhm.
but it'll do it for a shadow, but it won't do it for a car.
Yeah, and I think those kinds of systems really are actually more harmful than they are beneficial because it takes away like the control from the driver and it can like fuck up the
Yeah.
driver's decision making, I find.
Yep. I don't like it. But anyway,
Mm.
so the truck reacted, telling me, hey, there was a collision imminent. So I mean, I was already applying the brakes at this point because last second I knew exactly what she was gonna do. But if I hadn't noticed what she was gonna do, there was a very good likelihood I would have punted her into the wall like a NASCAR driver to someone else would.
Yeah, you would have fucking taken that bitch out.
I mean,
She would have not had a good day at the office.
it's 80,000 pounds versus 2,500 pounds. Who do you
Yeah.
think's gonna win that
Did you
fight?
physics?
Yeah.
Christ almighty. Yeah, no, I mean there's some just Darwinism at work at that point. I mean, it's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not fair on the potential truck drivers because those kinds of accidents, if you killed someone, that haunt you forever. Just because some
Mhm.
moron can't like just take the next exit, you know, to get to their wherever they need to be.
Yep. I know though my when I went through CDL school, my one of the teachers showed us a bunch of videos of truck crashes on during the winter. So these people weren't necessarily recklessly driving.
Hmm.
Well, they are. If it was during the summer, it wouldn't be a reckless driving. But because it was during the winter and there's ice on the road and everything,
Yeah.
no, it would be. And there's this one video that's never gonna leave me, and so this truck is just going down the road, no problem, and this SUV flies up on its left, but it hits an ice patch and loses control.
Oh shit. Right.
And so it swerves right, then swerves left, and then goes over like through the median over into opposing traffic where another semi hit it going at speed perfectly parallel or
Oh
perpendicular,
god.
perfectly perpendicular from the
Fucking
truck
hell.
to the SUV,
Yeah.
and this thing just vaporizes.
Oh my god, I can imagine. That's one of my worst nightmares. Is like having to do an emergency like brake when something like that, going across the medium into oncoming traffic, and then yeah, getting fucking obliterated by like an 18-wheeler or something. Is like, oh my god, that's horrifying.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, no, the truck driver did nothing wrong. He didn't
Mm.
deserve that.
He didn't deserve that. He
But
didn't know.
the only thing that dude saw was a black square directly on the bumper of his truck, not facing the right way, and there was nothing he could do about it. I'm pretty sure in the video he doesn't even apply his brakes until he makes contact with the vehicle. Like, that's how fast it happened.
Yeah, you wouldn't have time. Realistically, you wouldn't have time to react, and it'd probably be underneath his field of vision by the time he did notice something was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the thing people forget as well, right? Is that these trucks are high up. You know, if you're like right in front of it, the driver can't see you over the what do you call it? The hood, the hood of the truck.
Yeah.
We call it the bonnet in the UK. You call it the hood. Yeah.
I don't mind that you guys have stolen a piece of my bonnet. I do mind that you guys have done such a bloody appalling job of it.
A British trucker like absolutely obliterates someone. You know, their head is like 5 miles that way. Their lower body is 10 miles that way. British person gets out. They see the damage and they go, oh, "Crikey, bloody hell! That was a bit spicy. That was a bit. He's in a bit of a pickle, isn't he?"
Well, you see, in America, they just become a stain on the roadway.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's nothing left to recover. There's a there's a video.
A skid mark, yeah.
There's a video on YouTube by Donut Operator where he did a police breakdown where these two guys were chasing this other guy that they pulled over, and it was going from one interstate to another. So the guy like runs down the hill and jumps over the concrete barricades into traffic.
Oh, I know this one.
This I think it was like a yellow car or something, just comes by and just decimates this dude.
Yeah.
And he lands on the pavement, and the cop goes up, like just kind of goes up to up to where the body is, and it's just like, I guess start EMS. There's nothing really here to recover, but bring it anyway, I suppose.
As a foreigner, one of the like funniest things that's also like incredibly dark, like one of the biggest tells as a foreigner that an American has seen something really disturbing is that they go right.
Mm-hmm.
When an American starts a sentence with that's like, oh shit, he's seen something. That's something serious has really happened to get an American to say that. Fucking hell.
Yeah. And it's like, so the cop's like there, and he takes his flashlight
down.
And so the cop takes his flashlight out and is now signaling drivers to get into the left lane to avoid the body. And I think it would be the wildest thing ever to see a cop doing that. And so you go up, and instead of a deer being in the lane, it's a fucking human corpse as you go by. Like, oh, that's not a deer.
Oh,
that's
not a
person.
Deer. That's a person. That's a whoa.
Yeah.
No. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Hey, Quivers.
So yeah, that was one of the videos that Donut Operator uploaded. It was one of it was one of those stranger ones where it's like, yeah, have you guys ever wondered what human paste looks like? Well, you're about to find out today.
Human salsa. Ugh.
Yeah. And actually, so when I was in the trainer truck, we were going through Madison, Wisconsin, and the right 2 lanes were closed for construction, but the lane that was open had a construction speed limit of 60 miles an hour.
Oh, 60. Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah, 60.
And, well, it seemed regular interstate speed is 65 miles an hour.
Really? That no, it's 70 here in the UK. That's interesting. Okay, yeah, go on.
Is it 70 Is it miles per hour or kilometers per hour?
Miles per hour.
Oh, is it miles per hour?
In the UK, yeah. Well, national speed limit 70 mph.
Oh.
Yeah, it'd probably be much higher in America because you guys have got such big roads. You could go much faster safely on your roads.
I mean, it gets to the point where, all right, how much faster are we actually are we willing to let people travel, given how inconsistent they are with driving?
Yeah, I mean, in the UK, 70 is the limit, but people typically drive 80, and then like the German car drivers go 90 usually, so it's quite fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the construction speed limit was actually really high at 60 miles an hour because most construction speed limits are like 30, 40, 50 miles an hour.
Oh, actually, yeah. Good. I forgot the whole point was it's a construction area. Yeah, in the UK, construction areas are normally 30. So yeah.
And so I'm going. I was going like 58 at the time because it was dark out. I couldn't see much, and I was still pretty much brand new to driving.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed there's a vehicle inside the cones that had its lights on, and I'm like, okay, well that vehicle's there. It looks like he's parked because his brake lights weren't on, or like his lights, his running lights were on, but it wasn't like he was pressing on the brake pedal, right?
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well no, that guy's gonna sit there. And the next thing I see is the door swings open and the driver gets out and takes 3 steps into my lane.
The fuck is he doing? Did he look like before he got out? I take it he didn't.
I don't know, but it spiked my adrenaline. I
Yeah.
started slowing down, and he made it around to the front of his vehicle, no problem. He was probably like 1,500, maybe I don't know how far away he was, maybe like 1,000 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
But still, for me, it was close enough for me to go, whoa, he just stepped out into my lane.
Yeah. Okay. That would shit you up a bit, just a bit.
Yeah, it definitely felt like freaking somebody jabbed my arm and injected me with adrenaline and like Left 4 Dead 2 or something like that.
I got the adrenaline here.
Yeah. Like that's exactly what it felt like. And afterward I'm like, whoa, and he's like, hey man, that is what it is.
Hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Gilliland. Do many truck drivers take drugs by any chance? Is drugs a problem among truck drivers?
So the 2 biggest ones are nicotine and caffeine.
Oh, okay. So yeah, not you don't do truck drivers that do meth. They just do the cold coffee and tobacco thing.
Yeah. Most of them do.
Most of them.
Not all.
Not 80 miles an hour from Colorado to Nevada. Oh, what's your favorite route? Like, what's your favorite road? What's your favorite highway? Have you got one? So good. Is it like a good highway, or that's always a pleasure to drive around?
I-75 through Ohio.
Or is it because there's not many people there, or are they well-maintained roads?
Well-maintained roads. It is the only place. Well, I guess Illinois has some decent roads as well, but
right.
It's Illinois. But no, I-75 through Ohio is immaculate. It is the smoothest road I've driven on in my region.
God himself touches that road. Is Ohio? I mean, is Ohio a very religious state, or is that Oklahoma, or both?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I mean, there's plenty of churches and stuff around in Ohio. I just don't really ever go to them.
Yeah, I think it's Oklahoma actually, isn't it? It's near Texas. They're a really religious state of people. I don't know much about Ohio. What's in Ohio?
Where do all the Mormons live?
That's
the religious state. Wherever all the Mormons are, that's the religious state. Utah. Yep, there it is.
Utah. Okay. God, yeah. What's in Utah? All I know is it's got
Mormons
deserts in Utah. Deserts and Mormons in Utah, right? No, I generally do never ever hear people mention Utah. Like, I literally don't know what's in there. Do Americans even know what's in Utah?
Mormons.
Just the Mormons.
That's it. Just Mormons.
We're just a dumping ground for Mormons. Yeah, we'll just stick you in Utah. Yeah. Where you can't be fucking weird.
They all just kind of congregate there for some reason.
There must be something in the desert, maybe. Maybe someone should keep an eye on the Mormons, see what they're up to. That sounds suspect. Sounds suspicious. We need to send a team over there with guns to see what the Mormons are up to. They're probably trying to take over America.
Yeah.
What's that cult? What's that cult that did the Kool-Aid thing?
Is that the one that went down to South America and then everyone died?
That's the one, yeah. How do we know the Mormons aren't doing that in the middle of Utah somewhere?
I forget what it was. I remember I watched a video on it recently, but I don't remember.
The birthplace of John Moses Browning. Thank you, Leos. So,
neat.
Yeah, based. Hell yeah. Oh, they got tax breaks. Okay. Yeah. Anywhere that has very low taxes or no taxes at all, super based. Is Texas a zero income tax state, or do you have taxes in Texas?
I don't live in Texas, so I don't know.
Yeah. Which states have in the US have no taxes? I take it you just have consumption taxes then, if you've got no income tax.
Let's see. Most states have like income tax and state and federal taxes and others, but I mean, there's like in California, you'll have like your diversity tax, I'm sure, or
The
some
fuck is a
bullshit.
diversity tax?
I made that term up, but I'm sure they have something like that over there.
Oh, no income tax in Texas. Also, cheers, guys. Oh, in
Oh,
Florida
no
as well.
income tax in Texas. That's nice.
That's nice. Fucking hell. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm definitely moving to Texas or Florida. See how this green card thing goes. I think it closes. I think the green card lottery. No, I think it closed today actually, or yesterday.
How long is it gonna take for you to find out if you got in or not?
I think if I recall, they start doing the lottery in May of next year, and then it stops in October of next year. And then if I do get picked, then I can enter in 2026. Is how it works.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. I've got a 1 in 50,000 chance. So we'll see. I like those odds. Hopefully UK.
Well,
Hopefully UK will be in next year's draw as well if I don't get in this year.
I know I've been to Canada a couple times, but this is like 10 years ago, I think was the last time I went.
Yeah, I was an exchange student in Canada 11 years ago, actually. I thought it was a great country then, but when I moved to Canada a couple of years ago as a permanent resident, I was like, yeah, Canada's actually 10 times more shit than the UK. I'm going back home. Yeah, I couldn't last.
So
couldn't last 6 months.
In Boy Scouts, there was what was called Dorchester, which was the international scout camp out, where scouts from Canada, all across Canada and America, would come up to Dorchester and spend a weekend there, and there would be like 3,000 scouts there, and we only went every other year, but it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I won't say that one of the problems was, but because Scouts Canada is co-ed and Boys and Scouts of America, at least when
is it?
I went, was not. So every once in a while you'd get a bad apple in some of the Boy Scout crews who would try to hang around the Canadian Scout crews.
Oh, I see. I think at this point, given how far Canada's fallen, I think the Boy Scouts of Canada are probably better armed and trained than the Canadian Armed Forces at this point.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, I laugh. It's actually quite tragic what's happened to Canada. God bless them. Tragic what's happened to England. God bless us.
I know. And there was the first time we went over to Canada. I didn't know Tim Hortons originated in Canada.
God,
but then we crossed the border.
Yeah.
We crossed the border and we found like 3 or 4 Tim Hortons within the first 10 miles.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, they're fucking everywhere in Canada. They're worse than McDonald's or like Starbucks.
I'm like, wow, this is like honestly, I was impressed. I'm like, wow, I've never like the only place that has such a concentration of like the exact same restaurant is McDonald's in New York City.
Yeah. Yeah, Tim Hortons is basically like kind of Canadian kind of Starbucks, McDonald's, but it's like far worse in every way. They still buy a lot of their shit and then they just sell it for like twice the price of what you can buy in supermarkets. Disgusting.
Yeah.
Terrible coffee. But it's like one of those weird things where people get, really really nationalistic and patriotic about it because it's like, oh, it's Canadian, so we have to eat there, even though they're fucking like an evil like oligopoly company.
Yeah. And let's see, I know. So my time's going up to Canada, and it would only ever be for a weekend thing. But every time I went up there, my mom would tell me, she's like, "Yep, you need to turn airplane mode on all your devices."
Oh, really?
What the hell is going on? There was a bunch of flashing lights just now, and I was like, "What the hell's going on?"
The police are coming for you.
Yeah. But it's just my mom would tell me, she's like, "Yep, you need to turn airplane mode on all your devices when you get to the border because we don't have service over there." Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, right.
It's like, yeah, I'm not paying for you to be international. I've already paid enough for this camp out.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. I mean it's really expensive, isn't it, to get like a global thing. When I went to the States myself just recently, yeah, I just used the hotel Wi-Fi. I didn't pay for a plan to use my mobile phone data abroad. It's not really worth it.
Yeah. Let's see. I am gonna grab a bottle of water that's behind me here, so I'm gonna disappear again.
Oop, off it goes. Right, stick.
Oh no, my headphones.
Wee. Yeah, I've never been. We don't. Obviously, we don't
Okay,
have
there
a
we
Black
go.
Rifle Coffee Company here. I'd like to go there one day. Do they sell food at Black Rifle Coffee Company?
I think they sell coffee.
Is it just coffee and donuts and shit, right?
I honestly, I don't even know.
Well, I'm not very happy with Black Rifle Coffee Company. They sold some of their own boys out, which wasn't very good of them.
No, it wasn't.
Sold out.
Let's see. Actually, I got some ammo
Mhm.
from Palmetto State Armory recently.
Oh, isn't that I think Grantham speaks very highly about them, or Administrative Actions. Can't remember who.
Yeah, let's see. I know. Grantham was. So Grantham is sponsored by AAC, which is Palmetto's ammo company, but it's
Ah.
America's ammo company, but it's owned by Palmetto State Armory.
Oh, I know they sell quite cheap rifles, don't they? Aren't they known for selling cheap like AKs and stuff?
So PSA used to be known for having really bad like it was really cheap, but it was really bad quality as well. They've tightened it up in the past few years, so their stuff's a lot better now,
Mm.
but it's still on the cheap end. So I mean, if you're gonna get like a rifle for something, it'll work for a while, but it's not something that's gonna last 10 million rounds. I mean, nothing's gonna last 10 million rounds, but it has a significant, like, their rifles have a significantly shorter lifespan than other companies' rifles do.
Yeah, I guess most people don't actually fire their like rifles or guns at the range that much, really. Anyway, though, do they?
Say again. I'm sorry, I missed that. I was trying
No,
to read the chat.
that's okay. No, I was just saying. I don't think very many Americans actually fire their weapons or rifles, whatever. They don't really fire them that much, do they? Really, they just kind of
No, not.
just keep them around, right, just in case for home defense. So they don't actually use them.
It's I know. I mean, I try to put about 100 rounds through my guns every year, but it's more if I
100
can.
rounds a
But
year, really?
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's because I have no time on my hands.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Everyone's really busy, so yeah. I mean,
I
personally,
work.
I'd buy an SA-58 with the fucking 50 round drum magazines. I'd be going to the range every weekend, blowing 10K on shooting that shit, man.
Actually, I did some math recently, and I gotta be quiet about this. Hopefully, so my family doesn't hear it because
Ooh.
my mom's gonna die if she hears this. So I did some math, adding up
Yeah.
all of my model trains,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
then converting it to Japanese yen.
Okay.
1.5 million yen is how much I've spent on all my model trains.
Oh my god. Hang on a minute. I know roughly how much that is. I've kind of done the conversion rate to Great British pounds before, but let me just double check that. Was it 1 million? Did you say 1 million?
1.5 million.
1.5 million. You said, yeah. Million yen in GBP. £7,582 sterling. Fucking hell. How much is that in dollars? In dollars. $9,800 basically.
Yep.
Fucking hell. And that's just the trades. That doesn't include the tracks and stuff.
Well, see, I'm part of the model train club, so all of that stuff's set up for me.
Oh, okay. That's kind of cool. The average
Yeah, so
lifespan of rifles is 5K for PSA. That sounds
yeah, that
quite
sounds
reasonable,
about
I
right.
must say. That sounds reasonable. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I know PSA has this thing where if you go through enough, if you basically destroy the barrel of your rifle, you can send it back to them for $99 and they'll give you a brand new one.
Oh, that's pretty cool of them. Yeah, I guess that makes
Yeah.
sense. Quick, easy way to get like repeat customers. Keep them in the brand, right?
Which honestly, it's that and on it's like more of like an initial investment to get a PSA rifle because you'll pay let's just say $400 for the rifle, and then you spend 5,000 rounds through it, and then you send your upper back because no, the barrel's shredded for $100, and you get another 5,000 rounds out of it.
Hmm. Yeah. I imagine the furniture might be okay as well, but probably maybe the furniture starts falling apart as well.
Yeah, I think the furniture is
Or the firing pin.
replaceable. I think.
Yeah.
You can always swap out the furniture.
Yeah. Maybe what about the firing pin though? That might be cheap and tacky as well.
Yeah, you can replace firing pins, bolts, and all that stuff if you know how to take it apart.
Yeah, that's true.
And actually, there was a funny story. So my dad taught me how to take apart, clean, and put back together his AR-15. And so I was practicing with it one day, but I told him I'm like, because something didn't seem right when I put it back together before we left. And so I told my dad, I'm like, hey dad, you might want to check your rifle before you use it. I don't think I put it back together correctly. And check it before you use it, because no, I want to make sure I didn't mess anything up.
Mhm.
Well, he didn't. And then he went to a public range that was full that day. And when he went to rack it, the firing pin fell out.
Oh no.
And
That's not good.
everyone laughed at him.
Yeah.
And so
Bless him.
he's like, like 2 weeks later, he comes out and he's like, well, you didn't put it back together correctly. I'm like, I know, I told you that I didn't think I did it right. I told you to check it
God.
before you used it.
Yeah, my mum's the same way. She won't take accountability for anything. Like you can, like she'll always try to like find some way of making it my fault, no matter what you do. Yeah. God.
But and he's like, I don't remember that. I'm like, yeah, it was right before I left. And he goes, oh yeah, I think I remember that now.
he legitimately just forgot, did he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I mean, I shouldn't laugh. I'm only 31, and I've got like a 5-minute memory now. I'm airheaded, unfortunately. I'm getting old. Getting old.
My problem, and this has been something that's always been a part of me, is if it's not directly in front of me, I'm not worried about it.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So if it is not in front of me, if I need to do something and it's not directly in front of me, the likelihood I'm gonna forget to do it increases exponentially.
Oh, I think yeah. It just took me a second there to kind of understand what you're saying. Yeah, I think I get you. My problem is I can even write stuff down, like a list of things I need to do, and I'll still forget. I'll forget about the list that I've put written to remind me about things. Is my problem. Even if you put it in front of me, I'll still somehow manage to forget to do it.
See, that last thing for me, like even again, going to the list, like even if I look at the list of things I'll need to do, if that item on the list is not directly in front of me, I'm not going to remember to do it. Like that, the actual task has to be in front of me, not a note saying, hey, you need to do this task. The actual task needs to be there.
Yeah, I mean, there must be something in the water that's making our brains go to mush, or maybe it's all this internet that we use.
Did I ever tell it? Last time we streamed, did I tell you about my knee injury and how that happened with my dad and my grandpa and our first time out rifle shooting? I forget if I told that story or not.
I don't think so. No, I don't remember.
Okay, so this is gonna be a fun one. So this was about 2009-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, 2010. It was right before I turned 10.
Yeah, 14 years.
And
yeah.
I've asked my dad and my grandpa, I'm like, hey, I want to go out rifle shooting with you guys. You guys took my older cousin out rifle shooting with you guys recently. I want to do this as well. I'd been asking for up to like 2 years at that point, I think.
Yeah.
And eventually they're like, all right, we'll bring you out rifle shooting with us next time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right, awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, good to go.
Because what really started it was my dad and my grandpa had gone out, and I was still up at the house, and I could hear them shooting rounds off. And I asked my grandma if I could go, and she goes, no, you can't go out right now. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to. This is cool stuff. I want to do this
it
too.
Is
and
cool
she's
stuff,
like, no.
Yeah.
She's like, no. Well, you haven't been out to the range, but
bloody grandmothers
she's like,
and
well,
mothers.
you haven't been out to the range before, so no, I can't let you just wander out there. I was really sad. So when my dad and my grandpa came back up, I'm like, I wanted to go out too. And
Mhm.
they're like, all right, well, next time we'll bring you out too. So I think it was like I forget if it was the next spring or a month or two later or whatnot, but it was early June. My dad and my grandpa brought me out to the range. But before we went to the range, we stopped by the barn because my grandpa wanted to get all his targets.
Yeah.
And right before we went to the range, he comes out, runs back in and goes, I almost forgot, and brings out a skillet.
A skillet? What do
It's
you...
it's like like a regular frying pan, but it's made out of thick iron.
Yeah, right.
And there were a bunch of bullet holes in it already, but and so he's
Oh,
like,
right.
yeah, I
Target
shoot,
practice. Okay.
and I shoot. He's like, yeah, I shoot this thing with 40s and 9s all the time. It'll be fine.
Okay.
And so we go out, and we're only shooting 22 long rifle
Don't,
and 410 shotgun that day.
don't tell me this story is going to end up with you getting hit by a ricochet.
Yes.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah, sorry, continue.
And so we go out to the range, and we're starting to shoot rounds. We were shooting for about an hour, and everything's going fine. The only thing that had happened so far that day of to any sort of concern was there was a spent casing that rolled underneath my knee, and I accidentally put my knee on and it burned
Oh,
me.
that
So
must have burned like fuck, yeah.
listen, when I put my knee down, I felt it, so I lifted my knee up and like pushed it onto the ground so I could put my knee back down.
I got one of those
Cause
burns on my neck once, and I'll never forget the pain of having that like go on my neck and then roll down like my shirt collar. Yeah.
so and all right, so the way I was sitting where with like my legs going like underneath myself,
Hmm.
but like kind of just like knelt down, but with both legs going under me. I don't know how to else describe it, but my knees are pointed forward, right,
Yeah.
and they're pretty much bent as far as they can go. And when this happened, so I swipe away at it. And okay, it was just a casing, no problem, whatever.
Hmm.
And then it's my dad's turn to shoot. So he takes this 410 shotgun pistol and he loads it up and he starts shooting. And I think it was the third round he shot at the skillet.
Right.
And the skillet bursts and suddenly I'm feeling what felt like hot brass on my knee again. So I didn't really understand why I was feeling that, but I'm like, okay, maybe it's just another piece. So I go to swipe away at it like I did for the first one.
Yeah.
Well, my knee kept burning after I swiped away at it. So I'm like, okay, well, I must have missed it. So I swiped away again. Well, now my knee is still burning.
Your hands
So I
covered in
look
blood.
down. I don't know how my hand wasn't covered in blood, to be honest.
Yeah.
But so I look down and I'm bleeding.
Hmm.
And I'm like, and it took me a minute to realize, I'm like, hey, I'm bleeding pretty good here. And then I turned around to my grandpa. I'm like, hey, grandpa, we have a problem. And he didn't understand what I was trying to say at first. You know, we all got our hearing protection on. It was Beowulf. It was a Taurus judge. You got it exactly. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, okay, yeah. His grandfather, it appears that I have been mildly wounded in battle. I require a triage at once.
Yeah. So because we have all our hearing protection on and everything, so he doesn't understand what I'm saying because he's thinking I'm like, oh, this is really cool, which I mean it was, but until I got hit. And so I tell him, I'm like, no, wait, we have a problem. And now I start pointing at my knee, and he like leans towards me a little bit, and then he realizes, oh, hey, I'm bleeding profusely from the leg.
I appear to be mildly inconvenienced among the leg area. Yes, not too
Yep.
much of a bother, but yes, if I could receive medical attention at some point, that would be most agreeable.
Yeah. And so eventually my grandpa realizes what's going on. And so I try to get my dad's attention, but my grandpa's like, no, let him shoot for now. Let him shoot. So my dad finishes off shooting the
Nah,
judge.
just let him bleed out. Let him finish his rage. Let him finish his ammo. Yeah.
Well, because the thing is, at this point, the thing that is most dangerous to us has already exploded.
Mhm.
So he can't shoot it again because it's in a billion pieces already. And that was the only metal target we had downrange at the time. So my grandpa's like, no, let him shoot. So he finishes shooting off like the 2 or 3 more rounds that he had. And that's when my grandpa called for my dad and said, we need to get back to the house now.
He's like, yeah,
And
like, father, my son has lost his arm from a ricochet. Just let him keep shooting. No, he'll be all right. He'll be all right. Let him fire off a few more rounds.
so what happened is they load me up into the vehicle that we brought out there. We rush up to the house. My grandpa's, I forget if it was my grandpa or my dad who was there. I think it was my dad. My grandpa rushes inside, grabs paper towels, and runs back outside. I mean, and this
whatever
dude is
you
like
do,
booking it. He is moving.
Don't tell your mother whatever you do, all right? You fell down you cut yourself on some branches.
Well, you see, at this time, my parents were already divorced at this time. So my mom's at her house,
yeah.
and me, my dad, my grandpa, and my siblings are here. Anyway, so here's the thing. So when my grandpa burst into the house, like, dashed to the kitchen, grabbed the roll of paper towels, didn't just take 1 or 2, grabbed the whole roll, and booked it back out right in front of my grandma. She's like, all right, something's not right, because he doesn't do that. And so no, they're putting freaking like wads and wads of paper towel on my knee, and I'm just kind of like sitting there like,
it's like that scene from Saving Private Ryan.
This is not good.
Yeah.
This is not good at all.
Like when the medic gets shot in Private Ryan, they're saying, do you want morphine? Captain Joe, do you want morphine? Like, give him some morphine. Like, how do we fix you?
And so eventually, like, they put like 20 or 30 paper towels on my knee, and I'm just kind of holding it there. And then I hear the door open, and I look over, and my grandma comes out, and I just kind of look at her, and she looks at me, and she just turns and goes back inside without saying a word. And I'm like, all right, well, the jig is up.
Exactly what I said would happen.
Now we're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah. Or just wait till I tell your mother what happens.
Oh, that's the best part. That is the best part. So my grandpa and my dad are debating on whether to call an ambulance or just take me to the hospital, because they're gonna take me to the specific hospital anyway, because it's the only one 20 minutes away. So eventually it's like, all right, well, it'll probably be faster just to take me to the hospital, because the ambulance is going to have to come to us, pick me up, and then take me to the hospital. And then we're going to get billed.
Oh, God, yeah. I wonder how much that'll be. Yeah. Look it out.
And so my dad loads me up in the van, and he books it over to the hospital, and he carries me inside, puts me onto the count, like the check-in counter, that I am now profusely bleeding all over.
Yeah.
And
morning, ma'am. This is my son. Could you please help? He's fucking dying.
And here, the funny thing is, I said to the nurse, I'm like, yeah, you guys removed a coin from my stomach here many years ago.
Not now, Captain Joe. We're busy fixing your fucking leg. You're gonna die, you idiot. But we don't. Cool. Like, cool story, bro.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm unbelievably calm during all this as well. And so eventually they bring me back, they look at it, they give me an x-ray, they go, yep, there's a pellet in there. And then they sewed it up, wrapped my leg up, and sent me on my way.
Oh, okay. Not a lot of bleeding, but not too much damage there.
No, so the hospital I went to at first, they just kind of went like, yep, you're injured. All right, have a good day.
Yeah, it's just profusely bleeding from the leg. They bring in some guy, you don't even know he's a doctor. He gets his stick, he goes, yep, that's a lot. That's a lot of damage. All right, here you go. just soak it in water and off you fuck. Go on then.
Yep. And so then on the way home, or on the way back to Grandpa's house, is when my mom gets the call. Hey,
Oh no.
we're on the way back from the hospital.
You
That was the
shot my
first thing my
son!
mama heard. And she knew we were going out rifle shooting that day. So I'm pretty sure her first thought was, okay, one of these idiots shot each other.
Yeah.
Like that is the only possibility that happened.
Right, who's dead?
Yes. Oh, was it?
First thing I heard was, "Hey, don't be mad at me."
Oh, okay.
Then he said, "We're just leaving the hospital."
Oh, okay.
Don't be mad at me. That's classic.
All right, that makes the story a lot better.
It does make it, don't be mad at me. That's such a dad thing to say.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So first thing he says was, "Don't be mad at me." Then we're on the way back from the hospital. Okay. Well, honestly, that makes the story a lot better, to be honest.
It's nothing to worry about. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Just
And
look it.
that's so I didn't really get upset about this until later that night, because what I started imagining was, oh well, I've been shot. What do they do in the military movies? They chop off the dude's leg.
Oh God, yeah.
So I'm thinking, because my mom ended up finding me like crying. I forget it was that day or the next day or whenever. But she asked, she's like, well, why are you crying? I'm like, well, they're gonna have to chop off my leg. And she goes, no, they're just gonna do surgery on it and you'll be fine.
Yeah, don't worry. We're not taking you to
Are
see
you
Dr.
sure?
Nick. We're not taking you to see Dr. Nick. You're going to see a real doctor.
And like she told me that, and at first I'm like, are you sure they're not gonna chop off my leg? And she's like, yeah, I'm sure they're not gonna chop off your leg. You're not losing your leg.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Train. We're going to have to take the leg.
So that was that story. And yeah, it's one of those stories where people are like, how are you not traumatized from it? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm not.
Yeah, it's true. It depends on how people are. Some people tend to be naturally, I guess, like reinforced against those kinds of moments. It's like the fight and flight thing. Some people get hysterical when they're under threat, and then some people are like as calm as a cucumber. I remember when I'd been stabbed, and I woke up from like the coma after the blood loss, and I remember waking up to like seeing a bunch of like doctors and nurses all like crowded around me as I was like laying down on the hospital bed. And when they asked me like, they just asked me like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?" Even though I just nearly died, even though I'd nearly died from blood loss after being stabbed. They were like, "Are you okay?" But they're like, "Are you okay, mate?" "Yeah, I'm good. How are you?" Yeah, I'm good. I'm fine.
I know probably the thing that really upset me was right before I went in for surgery. I'm like, and I hope they don't find anything else that makes them chop off the leg.
Yeah, just as long as I come out of here with my leg, I'm fine, man. They can take anything but
Yeah.
my leg. Yeah, no, understandable. I'd be fucking terrified about losing a limb. But I make it. You didn't get hit by a slug, right? You got hit by birdshot.
It was double-aught buck.
Oh, buckshot. Okay. Yep.
And actually, I still have the pellet that was in my knee. I got it back 12 years later from the sheriff's office.
Oh. What did the sheriff's office have it?
Well, because it was a incident where somebody was more or less shot, so they had to take everything into evidence and everything like that. I mean, no guns got taken or anything like that. In fact, after I forget it was before or after I received the pellet back, my grandpa's like, "Hey, do you want the judge that your dad shot you with?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
I want the gun that almost killed me. I want to look my nemesis in the eye. For generation to generation, Mini Train must almost kill himself with that gun.
So, Yeah, I know my grandpa gave me that, and I forget if we received a call or a letter from the sheriff's office, but they're like, but essentially what it was, hey, we have the bullet that you got shot with 12 years ago. Do you want it back? I'm like, yeah, I
Random
want it
fucking
back.
phone call. Like, who has the time to do that as well? Like, oh yeah, let's just call this guy up who like got shot that one time 12 years ago.
And they're like, yeah, hey, do you want this back? And I'm like, yeah, I want it back. That's awesome.
That is a pretty cool trophy. I'd probably turn that into like a necklace, right? Put it around the necklace.
Well, you see, it's made out of lead.
Mm-hmm.
See, lead is not exactly something
No.
you want on your body
No.
all the time.
That's true, but I mean, at the same time, it might give you cool superpowers. Small town things are just made out of legends. Yeah, I always hear like loads of crazy stories from small towns. Did you live in a small town?
I did for a while. My dad still lives there. He works out of there. It's I'm not gonna name the town, but it's a small railroad town. It's a pretty good train watching spot. That's where most of my YouTube videos are. So
that's cool.
It's not too hard to find.
Yeah, lead does give you poisoning. It could give you superpowers.
Oh, well, for what purpose? To give the 410 back its pellets?
Is that a Halo reference Felix is doing there?
Yeah, it's for what purpose, Master Chief? To give the Covenant back their bomb.
Sir. Yeah, I thought so.
Let's see. I know. I spent most of that summer in crutches. I was kind of upset that I didn't get to use I did get to use a wheelchair occasionally, but they're like, "Yep, you get crutches," and I'm like, "I don't want crutches. I want a wheelchair."
Did you get? Were you in school at the time?
It was during the summer, so no.
Oh, okay. No, it wouldn't cool. You could turn up to class and you're like, I got fucking shot.
Well, you see, so it wasn't completely healed. So I got it taken off. It wasn't a cast, but it was like a leg brace.
Mm-hmm.
I got that taken off. I think like late July, early August, right before school started, and mind you, like the surgery's still healing. So like there's scabs, there's all sorts of stuff, and every once in a while I wouldn't be able to help myself, so I'd pick off the scabs, as all kids naturally do.
I never did. I always thought it was gross, but yeah.
And so there was one time I was sitting in class, and so the way that my stitches worked was they were biodegradable, right? So,
okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were just kind of supposed to like degrade as you healed. And so I know there was one day I was picking at the scab, and then I caught one of and mind you, I'm in class, by the way, and we're like sitting in a circle doing something, and I just pull out a stitch from my knee in front of everybody, and a couple people next to me are looking at me like, this, and it was like, it was so bad to these people that like they were just in shock, and I just said, I like take it. It wasn't very long either. It was like maybe a centimeter long at most.
You start licking it, yeah.
No, I didn't. But no, so I took it out and I just kind of rolled it up into a ball and waited to throw it away. And like, I wasn't bleeding or anything, but the people next to me are just kind of like staring at my knee in complete shock that I just did that.
Yeah, they've never seen an injury before. They're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. And I'm like, well, what's going on? I got a cut there, so what?
Leg spaghetti. The forbidden leg spaghetti.
I know there was at one point I went to pull a scab wrong. I mean I didn't pull it all the way, but like I went to like kind of take the scab off, but instead of the scab coming off, it like flopped open.
Oh,
and gross. I'm like, I'm gonna close that back up.
Yeah, just slowly push it back with your fingers. Oh yeah, I'm gonna put you back.
Yeah, I'm like, we're not gonna do that. All right, I'm not gonna touch the scabs for the rest of the week.
Mm-hmm. God,
and I know
nasty. You're a nasty ass dude.
Yeah, it's.
Stop fucking picking at your scabs, you disgusting little kids.
Yeah.
Yes, hello, I
No,
am
that
gold
wasn't-
member. I rip my scabs off and I eat them. It's nice and tasty, yes.
I know that wasn't the only injury that has happened to me. And there was the time where I was 2 years old and I landed top of the head first on a bunch of bricks.
Wait, what's that? Sorry, what was that with a ton of bricks?
The top of my head.
And you weren't wearing like any form of head protection.
No. So
That explains so much about you.
So what happened here was because I was only 2 years old, so I don't actually remember the event,
Okay.
but I'm sure my mom does.
Brick Kun
But,
got you young then, yeah.
So what happened? So I was sitting on the porch and on the railing, and my mom was watching me, and she lets me go and turns her back for 2 seconds, and I for some reason decided, yep, I'm gonna jump off right now. And so I went to jump off and landed head first onto a bunch of bricks.
Oh, Christ. That must have given
So
your
when
mother a
my-
hell of a fright as well.
Yep. And so they took me to the doctor's office, and I didn't get. And then, granted, that I like to overblow this story a little bit. I didn't get stitches. I didn't get staples. I got glue.
Glue. Yeah, this Captain Joe guy. I mean, he's stupid. He falls off a thing, breaks his head open.
Yeah.
We're not going to give him stitches. We're just going to glue him back together. That's all he's worth,
Yep.
really. It's just glue.
I mean, this wound was not like my head was like it wasn't like immensely cracked open. I like scraped it open about like an inch long.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, we're just gonna use glue for this. There's no reason to use stitches on this.
Yeah, young kids.
So
heads are
that's
very
what they
squishy.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like, yeah, we're just gonna glue it. There's no reason for stitches or anything. And so yep, that was my getting my head glued back together story.
So you've been shot. You cracked your head open and got it glued back together. You've tried to eat yourself. What else have you done to yourself?
I swallowed. I forget. I think it was a quarter. I swallowed a quarter, and I had to go to the doctor's office and get that removed. I don't remember why.
Why did you eat a quarter? You fucking
I
weirdo.
ate the quarter. Was it a quarter or I forget what it was. I'll have to ask my mom what it was.
Shiny
I'm pretty sure we
thing.
still have
This is
that
food.
somewhere around I'm pretty sure we still have that somewhere around too.
Easy swallows, yeah.
So there was that one. Let's see what other injuries. Let's see. There is the story. My dad has a couple injury stories of his own that I can only get from I've only been told to me, so I'm gonna simplify them here. The one is where my dad and my stepdad used to be pretty good friends, and they were messing around with some fireworks,
Right.
and PVC piping.
Oh, oh no. Oh no.
So yeah, you instantly know where this is going.
Oh no. Yeah. Did he get him in the face?
No, they were working together as like an RPG team.
Oh, okay, right.
And I forget if like one of the fireworks was too big or something, but they fire the firework and it explodes right behind my dad's neck.
Yeah.
Like on his neck, like right behind it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he has a small scar from that still. And then there's the other one where I forget exactly who was in which position here, but essentially my dad got ran over by his friends.
I mean, I think every young man probably has that story. I have been run over by friends, but yeah.
Well, here's where this story is. So it was like 6 of them roughly, and they're like, all right, well, we're gonna go toilet paper this dude's house. So they're like, all right, we're gonna drop you 2 off here. We're gonna drop you 2 off here, and then us 2 are gonna go over here, and we're gonna ambush the house from 3 different directions, and then we're gonna all get in the car and escape.
Yep.
So they dropped the first 2 off just fine. And mind you, my dad is still recovering from another injury that I have to ask about.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like this dude was not supposed to be out and about at this time.
Yep.
And so they're like, all right, no, first 2, they jumped out. They're getting in position. They get to the second drop point. and I mean they're like jumping out of they're not moving very fast, but they're like creeping along when they go to jump out.
Yeah.
And so first guy jumps out, and my dad gets caught on the car, so he falls out and then like slightly rolls underneath the car. And so when they go to speed off, they hit a bump and they go, "What the heck was that?" And they look behind and they go, "Hey, we just ran him over."
It's like something from The Simpsons.
I don't remember how that story ends, but I do remember the story of him getting run over, and I think it's kind of funny.
You know, being run over isn't that bad, honestly. I can speak from experience. Being stabbed is worse than being run over.
My dad is recovering from leg injuries already, so I'm sure this was not great for him.
Yeah, that definitely won't help his leg condition.
Let's see. I know there was one of their friends, was it, I forget who it was, but my grandpa used to have a zip line that went from the house down to the barn.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Somebody was using it one day, and the line snapped.
Oh shit! I bet they probably tried to. Did they try to sue afterwards as well?
No, nobody ended up suing my grandpa. But what ended up happening was I think the line came up and whipped him at some point.
Ooh.
And then landed square on his back on a rock.
Oh no! Oh my god!
So I think he got the double whammy there.
Yeah. Between the rock and the hard place. Yeah.
Yeah. So that happened, and then there was the one where my uncle got shot in the back and almost point blank with a potato gun.
Oh, a potato gun. Okay, right.
Yeah.
I thought at this point you're just shooting each other now for fun.
at this point, we hadn't shot each other yet with a real gun. That was yet to come.
yeah, that's yet the best is yet to come.
There had been plenty of incidents with potato guns up to that point.
Mm.
Let's say, no, there is I forget exactly how this story goes, but there was something about my grandpa being upset that my dad went to a school event instead of helping my grandpa with one of his cars, which ended up almost burning down the house.
How did that happen?
So my grandpa and my dad used to be decent car guys from what I understand.
Mm.
And do not sponsor this family. I see that message. So what from my understanding of it, my grandpa was trying to work on one of the cars and needed my dad's help for something. But my dad's like, "No, I have plans. I'm doing this school thing. No, and I'm not gonna stop it. Or I'm not gonna do anything else. I'm not gonna help you or whatnot." So my grandpa's like, "All right, fine, I'll do it on my own." So he's trying to do it on his own, and he does something wrong, and now the garage is on fire.
Oh, fuck.
And so I mean they put out the fire. The house doesn't burn down or anything, but things are not going my grandpa's way.
Yep.
So when my dad gets home, my grandpa's upset that my dad went to the school thing instead of helping him, because he's like, "If you were here, you would have seen me doing this thing, and you would have prevented the house from burning or from almost burning down."
Sounds like Hank Hill a bit there.
Yeah, I don't know why I decided. I don't know why I pulled out the Hank Hill voice there, but I did, because my grandpa doesn't sound like Hank Hill at all.
Okay, Dad.
This family is the number one reason why Geico's still on business. Yeah, probably.
I can imagine.
We have done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it sounds very exciting and very fun. I'm surprised you're all still alive and relatively healthy.
We always try to be safe, but we usually don't find out until afterwards.
Yeah. You normally try to be safe. Oh, my son is bleeding out quite badly from the leg. Nah, he'll be all right. Nah, we'll just shoot off a couple more rounds.
All right.
We'll finish off our session.
Don't be mad at me, but...
Don't be mad at me, yeah. No, look, don't tell your mother, all right?
I forget exactly. I think my dad was like, "I'm going to have to tell your mom about this."
You should have lied. You should have said you've fallen. You just had a nasty fall.
I don't think falling can cover for a gunshot wound.
There were other people's gun pellets lying on the floor. You just tripped over them and fell. They got lodged in your leg.
Yeah. See, he fell and a shotgun pellet just so happened to enter his knee at the exact same time he fell. You see.
He was shot. He was shot by a Canadian in the woods. There was a feral Canadian. We chased him down, but we couldn't find him, so we had to get him. We had to get him to the doctors. Yeah.
One of the stories from iFunny, well, the meme from iFunny is accidentally falling 36 times on a knife.
Yeah. Otherwise, an average day in London.
Yeah, knock on wood for that.
Knock on wood for that, yeah. Okay. Yeah, my phone is about to run out of charge, and
oh boy,
my cough is getting worse. So I think that would be a good place to end the podcast.
All right, yep.
So yeah, thank you very much for your time, buddy. That was a lot of fun.
Yep,
as always.
Always.
Hang on a sec. I'm just trying to get your Twitch account open so I can link it in the chat. This is
it's pinned to my Twitter, remember?
Yes, thank you. Actually, that's a good idea. 1 second. 1 sec, guys. Yeah, so this is a fun little podcast where we're going to ramble about randoms. Oh my god. No.
Yeah, just whatever we find interesting that month.
Nova Crusader, I swear, if you're still here, I just saw no, you are still here. Nova Crusader, the first thing I see is that art you've just drawn of me. It's fucking incredible. Thank you for that. But yeah, we're going to do this once a month, guys. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, we're just going to talk about, I guess, whatever the fuck we feel like, whatever's like in the news, or we're just going to ramble about generic guy stuff and then get into tangents, the news, things, and about things.
Things you find interesting, something interesting in the news, or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
No, just whatever we feel like talking about that month. We're gonna try to do it. I'd say like first weekend of every month. Try to keep a consistent time frame for it.
Spit the Shit podcast. Actually, that sounds fucking great.
Oh, that's a good name. That's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah, let's use that.
That's a good. I like that one.
I like that one as well. Thank you, Beowulf. Hell yeah, let's call it that from now on.
Yeah. Give us name suggestions because we've been trying to come up with stuff and we haven't been doing the best job.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you all. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. But yeah, we'll end the stream there, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. That was a lot of fun. It's good to see you all. And yeah, we'll see you again next month. Yeah. Sorry, good joke.
I may stream later tonight over on Twitch. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do anything, but if I will, it will be later tonight. So try to tune in for that if you can.
Yeah, there you go. I've posted a link there, guys. Make sure you head on over to his channel and give him a follow. Yeah.
All right. See everyone next time.
Cheers. Take care, guys. Have a good evening, everyone. And I'll see you later. Bye-bye.